Barrett Jackson's 50th anniversary celebration in Scottsdale was one for the ages.
So, $3,600,000.
We're riding that wave into Palm Beach with a jaw-dropping selection of vehicles. With John Staluppi's Cars of Dreams and great cars from the American Muscle Car Museum and George Shinn Collection. It is world class.
Muscle cars, classics, supercars, and restaurants. You name it, we'll have it in South Florida.
3 days of incredible auction action heading your way, and it all starts now on FYI.
It is a beautiful day in South Florida. A little on the warm side, but then isn't that why we come here? I mean, after all, we've got spring break. We've got great weather, and that means big crowds at the South Florida Fairgrounds for the Barrett Jackson Collector Car Auction. It's been 3 years since we've been here, and we are back with a vengeance. Look what they've been doing inside, working furiously to build the auction arena. That's because we're going to have nearly 700 cars crossing that block, every single one of them at no reserve, and that's a new record here at Palm Beach. You know, today is the first day of our coverage, the first day of the auction, but I tell you what, a lot has been going on here. In fact, we had some great festivities just a couple nights ago at John Staluppi's Cars of Dreams Museum. They were having a great event. Now, that's normally held for great causes where they raise money, but John Staluppi, a big buyer at Barrett Jackson, this week is selling cars as well. So they had a fun event to get everything kicked off. Now, we talk about Thursday being entry-level day. This is the day the price is not quite as big as they're going to be during the course of the week. But honestly, looking at the docket, looking at the cars crossing the block today, it's pretty spectacular machinery. And as the days go on, it's going to get even better. Here with a quick preview is Mike Joy.
The biggest and best Barrett Jackson Palm Beach auction ever is anchored by 3 great collections, beginning with the John Staluppi Cars of Dreams collection, restored cars, resto mods, and the headliner is a 2018 Ford GT Heritage Edition, recalling Dan Gurney and A.J. Foyt's victory at Le Mans in 1967. Noted industrialist and sports entrepreneur George Shinn has brought a large group of cars from his collection. And there's a third big group with Steve Magnante.
Well, that's right, Mike. The third collection here is the American Muscle Car Museum collection, and I'm standing here right now with 2 of many vehicles from that stash. A 55 Chevy Bel Air convertible, of course, 55, the first year for the V8 revolution, bringing Chevrolet into the eyes of performance people all over the country. And by 58, just 3 model years later, the first big block, the 348 in the Impala. 2 great cars from the American Muscle Car Museum collection. But, of course, these are cars, but we have plenty of trucks, SUVs, imports, and late models coming up. It's going to be a great show with a ton of variety.
Yeah, definitely something for every taste. Cars spread all over the South Florida Fairgrounds. And, of course, our crew has been all over as well, giving each car a critical eye. And let's join the host of Hoovie's Garage, Tyler Hover.
Well, I have nothing to criticize here with Lot 707, a 1967 Chevrolet Camaro.
You better not have anything criticized about this car.
Nor would I, sir, because it's owned by this guy, Rich Ace Franklin, UFC Hall of Famer. And I'm more of a lover, not a fighter. And there is a lot to love with this Camaro, starting with the beautiful metallic paint you could never get in the Chevrolet factory. Beautiful interior. It has a modernized Wilwood brake system, suspension. But where it's really at here is under the hood. You have a giant 502 cubic inch V8, putting out 675 horsepower to a Tremec 6-speed manual transmission. So clearly Ace wanted to win the ring, and he wanted to win on the streets. This is selling Saturday here at Palm Beach.
Yeah, just a sample of what we're going to see crossing the block over the course of the next 3 days. And as I mentioned, the quality of the cars, really amazing here in Palm Beach this time of year. So we look forward to it all. And, of course, we've got another member of our crew wandering around out there. Let's check in with April Rose.
Rick, do you believe in love at first sight? Because now I do. Check this beauty. The 2024 GT Carbon Series, absolutely stunning. Now, if you want a street legal race car, this is it. It's got a lightweight carbon fiber rubber body, that mid-mounted 3.5 twin-turbo EcoBoost V6, 7-speed dual-clutch automatic, a super weight-saving titanium exhaust system, and that sweet, I mean the sweetest flying buttress design with air ducts that increases that airflow 50%. It's finished in a stunning frozen white with that carbon red graphics package. Just look at all that carbon fiber detailing. Absolutely stunning, Rick.
Yeah, it is so nice, especially when you're right up close. You see all the details right there. Thanks a lot, April. Look forward to seeing that and all those other cars crossing the block. And as I mentioned, today is entry-level day. At the very beginning of the auction, we have a lot of fun stuff crossing the block, like this right now, a 2003. It's a Pontiac Vibe GXP custom hatchback.
Rick, this car comes straight from General Motors, where it was used as a development vehicle. It has the turbo 1.7 engine. It has all the GXP badging and flaring and wheels and so forth. But because it was modified while at General Motors, it is being sold on a scrap title with no guarantee of merchantability, ability to drive on the highway, or even to be registered. So maybe you have a large estate, maybe you have a test track in your backyard. You can't register this, but you can go out and have a lot of fun.
The Vibe is the successor to Pontiac's first SUV, the Aztek. Remember the Aztek? You know, that was a vehicle I think that was misunderstood. It was very interesting, but this again is the second iteration of a Pontiac SUV, and their final. We of course know that Pontiac would be gone a couple model years later after this one was new, but again, it is not drivable, unfortunately, but it's a great example. The VIN on this one is 007, so it's a pretty low production car, but again, it's not street legal.
Well, there we go. Wait a minute, they'd hammered it sold, but one last bid came in. And remember, the auctioneer is the captain of the ship. He takes the last bid. Now he's looking around to make sure he's got it. There we go, $6,000. That gentleman right there, 2003 Pontiac Vibe GXP. All right, might mention the issues associated with that car. Well, it's cool and fun. Well, we got something similar right behind it, a 2006. It's a Chevy HHR SS Turbo Custom.
Well, HHR refers to the High Roof Heritage. 2006 was the first model year. These are made between 06 and 11.
Well, this is the SS version. You know, the big air dam, the widened out fenders, alloy wheels. And again, this is a GM development vehicle, very low serial number 177, 177th off the line. And again, because of the modifications or the development GM did, that's why this car was never sent to a dealer to be sold to the public. So it's sold on a scrap title. Now, there are certain titles you can perfect and get registered, but a scrap title is not one of them. For off-road use only, and yet with 9,000 miles, it looks nearly new.
The amazing thing about this is it has a 2-liter four-cylinder engine with a turbo, but it makes 260 horsepower. This is part of the General Motors Ecotec family of dual overhead cam four-bangers, and check that out. That's 2.1 horsepower per cubic inch. So if somebody wanted to use this engine in a kit car or something, a lot to be had for 11 grand.
The model is HHR, and that stands for Heritage High Roof. It's kind of a nod to the early Chevy Suburban, but in a more compact size.
When you see that SS edition, of course, that means high performance.
And the way that one goes, 2006 Chevy HHR Turbo for $10,000. And away we're going to go to the final member of our broadcast team. Here's Christian Murphy.
Thank you very much, Rick. I'm up here with the chairman and CEO, Craig Jackson. 3 years, we're back in South Florida. How does it feel?
It feels unbelievable for a Thursday. I mean, we're just getting started. It's the entry-level cars right now, but the crowds are amazing. Automobilia did phenomenal this morning.
best docket we've ever had here, 680 cars. Thank you to FYI and History for giving us extended hours, because we're going to pack a lot in these next 3 days, because everybody has been waiting for Barrett Jackson to come back and they want to be part of it.
Yeah, it's amazing what you've put together. How important is this neck of the woods to the Barrett Jackson brand and the family?
Well, this was our second major auction that we started. We wanted an East Coast auction, and Florida seemed to check about every box. And next year will be 20 years we've been here, but our 18th auction, because we missed 2 with COVID.
Certainly a year of milestones, the 50th in January in Scottsdale, and we're set up for a big auction. What do you think is going to play out over the next couple of days?
Well, I think we have so many cars in the $100,000 plus mark. Saturday is going to seem, Steve said it, you shut your eyes, you'll think you're in Scottsdale. The docket is amazing. Great charity cars, so being honored to sell the first Z06 convertible here, the Bronco Raptor, and the 2 great cars that we're going to be selling for charity for Ukraine, for Samaritan's Purse. That, I think, will be quite a moment tomorrow at 4:30 on FYI. There's just so much stuff in the docket, but it all starts when you have the parties and you feel the sense, and everybody's happy, everybody's excited. You know, we all want to help what's happening in Ukraine, but we all want to still move along with our lives and do both at the same time, and I think that's what you see here.
We're all set up for another wonderful Barrett Jackson experience here. I can't thank you and Steve and the team for everything you do to put this on, and we'll take it back up to Rick.
Thank you.
All right, thanks a lot, gentlemen. Well, Craig Jackson mentioned the extended hours. Let's take a look at the schedule we're going to have for our broadcast. Of course, we have 5 full hours today, starting at 1 o'clock Eastern Time, going all the way to 6 p.m. Eastern on FYI. Tomorrow we come back for 7 hours right here on FYI. And on Saturday, noon to 6, live on the History Channel. And then we come back for a 1-hour cool-down lap, should we call it, for 1 hour on FYI from 6 to 7. Just 1 more hour to sell some great cars here at Palm Beach. We're going to take a quick break. We will come back to South Florida right after this. Oh, check this out. The room is packed here in Palm Beach at the South Florida Fairgrounds, and we're just starting the auction. Just some fun stuff crossing the block. Of course, you'll see the last 3 cars. Every time we come out of commercial break, you'll see the prices that they sold for right there. And up there on the block now is something interesting. Yeah, it's just a 87 GMC Suburban, but this one used to be owned by the baseball great Ted Williams.
Teddy Ballgame owned this car, or truck, if you will, during his retirement. Check out the hood ornament there. Gold baseball. A photograph of Ted with this vehicle accompanies the car. What value provenance, Steve?
Now, the Suburban, of course, is General Motors, and in fact, one of the world's longest-running brands. I think 1931 or 2 was the first Suburban vehicle. But here we have it, and it's, 7th generation thereabouts, but these were available as 4 doors, of course, and 4 doors only. The shorter version of this with 2 doors we call the Blazer, but no matter how you cut it, if it's a pickup truck or a Blazer or a Suburban, these square body Chevy trucks are coming on strong with collectors.
Well, honestly, if you're looking for a piece of Ted Williams memorabilia for $9,000, it's not too bad, actually, right there. Very cool. All right, rolling up behind it, we got a little more modern, a little more European, a 1994 Mercedes-Benz E320 Cabriolet.
So the E-Class was and is the middle size of Mercedes 3. Well, let's say now 4 different offerings. This one comes out of Texas. Really nice dark blue over beige convertible, very much a luxury car. And the clock says, is that an 85,000 miles.
I got to say, if you love your late model Dodge or Chrysler Hemi car, a lot of its bones are derived from this. When Daimler and Chrysler merged, a lot of the E-Class suspension and firewall and frame parts became Challengers, Chargers, Magnums, and 300. So bow your head to an E-Class Mercedes of this period if you love a modern Hemi car.
Now, at this time, Mercedes had 3 convertible offerings, the E-Class, the SL, and the much shorter SLK. So while Detroit had pretty much given up on convertibles, at Mercedes you had quite a number of choices. This one with a V6.
220 horsepower, convertible, perfect for Palm Beach, and it just sells for $14,000. The 94 Mercedes-Benz E320 Cabriolet. Rolling up behind it, we got a 1983 Porsche 944.
944s were built between 1982 and 1991. This is a second-year edition. These had a 2.5-liter 4-cylinder engine, which was essentially half of the 928's V8. Has the same dual overhead cam head, same belt-driven cams, but again, a very potent junior model Porsche from the 928 on down to this.
And very low miles, Steve, 29,000 on this. Note the fender blisters. All 944s have them. This car was kind of like the 924 put on steroids when Porsche took over this project that was originated by Volkswagen. Front engine with a transaxle transmission in the rear, and these 4-cylinder front engine water-cooled Porsches are starting to come into their own value-wise. I sense a minor bargain here.
Yeah, not particularly powerful. This one is not a turbo. This has 161 horsepower. The turbo version of this would have a 217, which today doesn't seem like anything, but back in the time, it was a worthy thing. Now, this does have the alloy Fuchs wheels, wide and wider, which are correct to this car, but are also stylistically similar to Porsche 930 wheels, and that similarity is intentional.
Well, first year Porsche 944 just sold for $14,000, tying the same price for that Mercedes-Benz E320 we saw across the block. All right, we're going to check in with the Meguiar staging lanes and April Rose.
Now this is where all the fun is, and we're in the beautiful sunshine here in the staging lanes with this 1966 Thunderbird convertible. And I love in 66 they got these full-length sequential tail lights, just a really cool feature. Now this one has the original 390 V8 3-speed automatic, but I want you to take a look inside. Sort of that aviation style cockpit with these levers and toggles. Very cool. But for me, check out the back seat, okay? They're kind of wraparound pleated, and I don't know what that is on the bottom, the biscuit seats I call them. Is that a technical term, Rick? I'm not sure, but that's what they look like. Now here's the thing, I need a driver because those seats look way too comfortable in the back to pass up. DeBrule?
Yeah, that's exactly what the Thunderbird was designed to be, a nice 4-seater luxury touring car. Up there right now, we got a 2002 Mercedes-Benz CLK. It's a 55. This one's an AMG edition.
Speaking of 4-seater touring cars, this is a great example of one. The AMG, of course, has the big V8 engine with 342 horsepower. And again, AMG has been not misused, but this is a true one with the high-performance engine. AMG is also an optional visual package, wheels and tires, but this is the real deal.
Think of this as Mercedes' version of the Pontiac, the original Pontiac GTO. Big engine, small coupe, great car.
A lot of fun. 2002, just sold for $12,500. All right, from Europe to America, 1993 Cadillac Alante convertible.
There's a lot of Europe in these, believe it or not. The shell was made in Italy by Pininfarina and then shipped to Cadillac's Hamtramck, Michigan plant for final assembly. Now, the Alante was made between 87 and 93, but here's the deal. The 93 is the only model year to get the North Star V8 and almost 300 horsepower. Prior to that, well, about 210 horsepower. So the final model year right here is the one to have. And on the front fenders, you can see those 32-valve North Star logos. This is the one to have.
Absolutely, Steve. This is the one you want. That gleaming ruby red metallic. The chromed wheels were a period touch in 1993, especially in southwestern and Florida markets. This one with a removable hardtop.
Let's not confuse this with the Cadillac XLR, which was Corvette-based rear-wheel drive, followed on. These are front-wheel drive cars, and about 21,000 of these were made in the production run. But again, only 4,670 were final year North Star editions, as we see right here. No stick shifts, always automatic, but again, plenty of power.
Away it goes, $10,000 with a 1993 Cadillac Alante with the North Star engine, all 300 horsepower. We'll come back in just a moment to Palm Beach. So what is the car of your dreams? Well, I can just about guarantee if you can name it, they probably got it here at Barrett-Jackson Palm Beach. Doesn't matter whether it's a cool SUV, a Bronco, or a brand new Corvette, and everything in between. It's here on the South Florida Fairgrounds right now. And up on the block is a really cool 1975 MG Midget. But Mike, this one's very custom.
I have MG Midgets. I don't have the rubber bumper later version. I have a Honda S2000. I never thought of marrying the two, but look at what lies beneath. This is the engine and 6-speed transmission out of a Honda S2000. You go from 60 horsepower to 200. You go from a 5,000 RPM redline to 9,000. What a great little screamer.
That's right, Mike. The S2000 was a very special car, naturally aspirated, a little two-seater made between 1999 and 2009, and one of them gave its heart and soul to this little midget. The crazy thing is, this airframe, this platform, is designed for maybe 100 horsepower, not just 241. I see disc brakes up front, but the drums are still present in the rear. I'm sure it's okay. It's light enough, but again, that's a lot of power for this little tiny car.
Yeah, I looked very closely, and the car is very stock, other than the engine and transmission, although an early Mazda Miata donated its seats to this midget, and that is definitely a good upgrade. A lot of smiles per mile right here.
Those big rubber bumpers, especially up in the front. 1974 and a half was the beginning of this kind of stuff for British imports, the MGB and the MG Midget. But again, this big rubber bumper, I kind of like it, believe it or not. But this was designed to satisfy federal bumper laws, which are getting stricter and stricter. The ride height also went up an inch in 74 and a half forward. But again, here it is, man. But that heart transplant will give this a new life.
Each of those bumpers weigh about 60 pounds, and that's pendulum weight that you don't need in a car. We tend to debumper these, and they are the better for it.
Yeah, that would be the perfect combination, and we were joking earlier. It's kind of a no harm, no foul. They've already put the engine in. Why not take the bumpers off and enjoy the look as well?
Now, these body shells are manufactured by a company called Press Steel in Scotland for MG. Press Steel did bodies for a number of British car makers known for rust, but this one looks really clean.
Wow, an $18,000 midget. I didn't see that coming.
And guess what? Right now, that's the #1 seller of the day here at Barrett-Jackson. A lot of appreciation for the work that went into that. Up on the block behind it, this is the car that April Rose previewed just a little while ago, a 1966 Ford Thunderbird.
Well, something new for 66 was the optional Q code 428, which is not what we have here. This is the Z code 390, but it has been perked up a little bit with an Edelbrock 4-barrel carburetor, an aluminum intake manifold, and a Shelby air cleaner. But otherwise, pretty much stock. That's plenty of power, probably a good 300 to get this down the road.
This one has been shaved of much of its jewelry and of its door handles. Note that cockpit style where the rear seats wrap around. Kind of a 2+2, if you will. The steering wheel swings away for easier ingress and egress.
You know, this was the last year for this style of Thunderbird. The next year, 1967, they decided to go from being upscale to being luxury. That next one in 67 was a big beast. This one, much sportier looking.
And to your point, Rick, the next generation of this was available with 4 doors, which is something that's kind of weird. But with that said, they sold like crazy.
I think the nicest feature of this car is that the convertible top stack sits way below the sheet metal line. There is no hump for the convertible top. It is hidden beneath, and what a beautiful roadster look this is.
Point, Mike. You know, the engineering work for that retractable was done in 57 through 59 with the Ford Skyliner retractable, but again, it was applied to convertibles like this and the Lincoln.
Tell you what, getting a lot of love in the room. Just a moment ago, the top seller was $18,000. We're up to $33,000 on this 66, still moving. That's the hammer down, $35,000 for this custom 1966 Ford Thunderbird. Color is Viper Red. Some engine modifications, give it a little more horsepower to go with all those looks. 1997 Jaguar XK8 up on the block right now.
Well, Jaguar had kind of abandoned its sporting pretensions and become a luxury car company by the time this hit the market here in 1977, in a nice metallic rendition of British Racing Green over beige with a beautiful new-looking beige top. 63,000 miles on the clock.
Now, as the 8 in the XK8 would indicate, this has a V8 engine under the hood. Now, check this out. Jaguar only had 4 engine families up till the time when this thing was debuted in 1996. And they were inline 6s or V12s. This is Jaguar's first V8, but a good engine. 4 liters, dual overhead cams, totally modern. And yes, these were used in the regenerated Ford Thunderbird.
Now, these were fast, top speed 154 miles an hour. They'd get about 20 miles to the gallon. But they were not the corner carvers that earlier 2-seat or 2+2 Jaguars were.
There was a supercharged version of this engine, not seen here, but a good engine, 4 liters. Now, you got to remember that Jaguar did have a V8 in the mid-1960s, but that was not a Jaguar design. It was a Daimler 2.5-liter Hemi, which was utilized in full-size Jaguar saloons from 59 through 69.
$10,000 for a 1997 Jaguar XK8. And with that, we're going to check in with Tyler Hoover.
Well, I found a little race car, lot 45.1, a 1970 Fiat 500 Abarth Tribute. We all know the modern Abarths, but this is sort of where it began, a tribute of that. There's fewer than 1,000 of these cars built and remaining, the real ones, so this is a very well-executed tribute to it. And you wouldn't think a car with less than 50 horsepower would be a good race car, but these things dominated because of their size, the handling. Obviously, the power-to-weight ratio is fantastic. When I drove one of these, I didn't really fit. The open top actually saved me. I kind of stuck out like Big Bird. But the coolest touch, which they did on this tribute, is here in the rear hatch. They were having issues with cooling on the Abarths back in the day, so they moved the latch up, you can see, in the cowling to where it's open a little bit for more airflow, and then they would leave it fixed open so they could get as much air flowing through the engine as possible. They did it with this Tribute. It doesn't have the 595 engine, it's a normal 500 engine, but other than that, it certainly looks the part, and it is a beautiful Tribute.
Yeah, that isn't sticking up there for aerodynamics. It's not a rear wing, it's just for cooling. That's very cool. Look forward to that. 1988 Mercedes-Benz 560 SEC.
560 two-door like this was a luxury full-size car, also available as a 4-door, but these were generally the full-size Mercedes, more exclusive than the E-Class, the 3 Series, just below it.
$77,000 new, Cabernet Red over the same color interior. This one has been well enjoyed, 132,000 miles on the clock, but it appears to have been very well cared for.
Well, I'll tell you what, back in the late 80s, if you wanted to show everybody and impress everybody, this was the car you bought. Big, nice, coupe version, 2 doors, all the luxury and great power in its day.
So why is this car here? Palm Beach is very well known as a luxury car market. And we're going to see a lot of Mercedes SLs come through here. As our buddy Matt Stone used to say, they are peachy Palm Beachy. And this car, very well kept, has a lot of life left in it. And for $10,000, you can have a lot of fun for very little money.
Not bad, considering brand new, it was $77,000. So big, expensive car back in 1988. Now just kind of a fun boulevard cruiser. Coming up in just a little bit, check this out. It's a 2006 Dodge Magnum SRT wagon. Very cool, less than 3,000 produced. This one has less than 20,000 miles on the odometer.
Welcome back to Barrett-Jackson Palm Beach. One of the most frequent questions that our broadcast team gets is, what's in your garage? So before coming to Palm Beach, we each shot some cell phone videos, and during this weekend, we're going to show you. Let's start really small with Rick DeBrule.
I often point out to people I like cars for 2 reasons, speed and beauty. So how did I end up with a car that has neither speed nor beauty? Meet the Isetta. This particular one was built back in 1958. It's got a 1-cylinder motor, 13 horsepower, and a good day it might do 48 miles per hour, and if that's not quirky enough, has just a single door in the front. Notice how the steering wheel articulates and swings out. This was designed by a company called ESO. After World War II, they were building refrigerators, and I think I know where they got the idea for that particular door. BMW licensed it. They built 160,000. In fact, this is the car that literally saved BMW from bankruptcy in the late 50s and early 60s. So if I like cars that are beautiful and fast, how did we end up with this? Well, when we were in high school, back at Canoga Park High School in Los Angeles, our high school principal had one of these. It was the unofficial school mascot. He'd bring it to all the football games. It was great. I'd watch it all the time. So I liked Izettas, but I was never obsessed with them. However, we bought this one because we bought it from the principal. That's right, this is the same car that was running around at our high school, so we just had to buy it. So yes, it's not fast, it's not loud. Well, it's kind of loud, but it has plenty of history. And I can tell you what, it's also a lot of fun.
Rick, I don't know what's better, the car or the story, but that's why we love a lot of these, and it's nice it doesn't take up much of your garage.
I used to be able to park it in a 3-car garage with 2 other cars in the garage, so it's amazing. All right, up on the block now, a 1995 Jaguar XJS convertible.
A couple of minutes ago, we saw an XK8 sell with, of course, the V8 engine. Here's the end of the line for the XJS. This one has an inline 6. These are also available as the XJ12 with 12 cylinders in the 70s. But a nice example, very clean.
Red over bone, beautiful burled wood on the dash and wool carpet. Gorgeous car. The +2 of this, well, you can see this seat is here to put your briefcase, and it's here pretty much for insurance reasons. The insurance companies didn't like to insure 2-seat cars, so you see a lot of 2+2s like this.
Good for emergency transportation for that third person, but not for a long trip. $16,000 for that 95 Jaguar XJS. All right, the first of the pickup trucks we're going to see crossing the block. This one is a 2001 Ford F-150.
Well, the fenders say Triton V8. In this case, that means a 5.4-liter single overhead cam modular engine. There was a 4.6-liter version of the same, but again, 5.4, but not the same engine found in a GT500, but similar bones.
Well, one interesting fact about this particular pickup is with this flare side bed, the outer panel is not steel. This is a thermoplastic, a kind of an early take on what would later become carbon fiber beds and other ways of lightening pickups. Ford wasn't thinking of aluminum yet. They were using plastic on the outer panels of these highly formed pickup beds.
4-wheel disc brakes, standard equipment. It's funny how far the pickup truck has come to fuel injection, 4-wheel disc brakes, all standard by this 2001.
And of course, during the course of the next 3 days, we're going to see a wide variety of pickup trucks crossing the block, and SUVs as well. $19,000 for that one. Don't forget, just go to Barrett-Jackson.com. That's where you can see the full list of cars that will be crossing the block. If you wonder, where did it come from? What's the story behind it? Well, a lot of the information is there at Barrett-Jackson.com. 1991 Ford Mustang up on the block right now.
Well, I host a YouTube channel show called the Steve Maggs Junkyard Call. If you go to the Boneyard, you find a 5-liter convertible with an automatic. You have something cool under the back seat. A 327 traction lock rear axle. Again, being an automatic, this again has that low 327 gear. But again, this is not a junkyard example at all, but don't call this one a GT. This is an LX convertible. The body kit on the bottom looks GT, but it is an LX. Again, does not have the cheese grater taillights found on a GT, but these were everywhere in the 1980s.
A nice, fun Fox body Mustang drop top. It's been enjoyed for 82,000 miles.
And then keep in mind about these were built at the Ford plant as coupes. The top was removed. They were taken to Cars and Comsets for completion. And interesting to think that somebody actually cut the roof off and turned it into convertible. Nice job, though.
$12,500 for that 1991 Ford Mustang. All right, from a 91 Ford Mustang to a 73 towards the end of the big Mustang reign.
Yeah, because this would be followed by the Mustang 2. So red over ginger interior. And this has a very interesting vinyl top treatment. This is not factory, this is aftermarket. It attempts to replicate the Halo style vinyl top that was used on, well, let's see, 69 Camaros, let's say. But
the Mustang Grande of 69 would introduce this sort of silhouetted vinyl top. But keep in mind, 73, the final year for the full-size Mustang. As you said, Mike, the Mustang 2 would arrive in 1974. But this one has the 302 V8, and is an indicator of how lame things had gotten. By 73, no more 429s, and no more 15-inch wheels. 14-inch was the largest, so the performance squeeze was on in 73.
this was the lower priced of the three body styles. There was the sports roof or flat back and the convertible.
And it's just an example of how, over the years, Mustang have figured out and Ford have figured out we can have something for everybody. If you want a, secretary car, great. You want a performance car, great. Once again, performance in 73, not a lot of it. $17,000, that 1973 Ford Mustang. Well, if you'd like to try and sharpen your bidding skills and perhaps grab a great prize in the process, well, you're going to want to play Fantasy Bid, brought to you by Dodge. All you have to do is go to BarrettJacksonFantasyBid.com. That's where you register and play. You'll try to predict the winning bid of some select auto auction and vehicles that will be crossing the block this Saturday, just Saturday. Now, the winner of Palm Beach will get a 3-day Radford driving school experience. You'll also have a chance to win the grand prize, a 2022 Dodge Challenger. Only a couple more days before the game begins, so make sure you register for Fantasy Bid, brought to you by Dodge. Out in the staging lanes, all those cars queuing up to come up on the block. They'll be here soon. Well, here at Palm Beach, cars are out there, the people are out here. We got all kinds of great stuff to see, and those are cars that will be crossing the block over the course of the next few days. No matter whether you like luxury like that Cadillac or high performance like the Corvette next to it. And up on the block right now, we're just hammering sold a 2007 BMW 650i that just sold. We're going to check in with April Rose.
Oh, man, it is so hot out here. You're lucky to be on the block there. Whew, I need some air conditioning. All right, I got a beautiful 1988 35th anniversary Corvette. Now, they made just over 2,000 of them. Really cool, just absolutely stand out with that white-out exterior, white painted wheels, painted door handles. And check on the back, that Corvette script. The logo, just beautiful, clean, and classy. Now, this one's got the 350 4-speed automatic. I want you to take a look inside because the theme continues with white leather all over the door panels, the seat belts, even that steering wheel is wrapped in leather. And something really neat, I really like, this is a special moment right here, the great 3-circle design with the original Chevrolet crossed flags, the C4 logo in the center, and that 35 in the final position. But here's the thing, DeBrule, I feel like I would need white gloves to drive this puppy. What do you think?
And that would make it white on white on white. Just a white outfit, and I think you got it made. That is very cool, though. I love the black and white combination. Very, very neat. And up on the block right now, we've got a Corvette as well. This one from 1979.
350 automatic. It appears to have been treated to a fresh repaint in base coat, clear coat, T-top coupe, automatic transmission.
79 is generally regarded as the least desirable Corvette in terms of performance. Well, check it out. In terms of sales, 1979 was the peak year. It's never been surpassed or even approached. So these were very popular cars in their day, despite the fact they wouldn't lay a lot of rubber. But again, plenty of power, 195 horse in that base 350 automatic transmission. This one does have the optional alloy wheels. But a nice example.
I mean, the reality is 1979, nothing had horsepower. So, you were buying the looks because that's all you were able to buy, the $15,000. You just got yourself a great-looking Corvette. Congratulations to those folks right there. And we just saw a white Corvette out of the staging lanes. Now we've got a white 2009 Mercedes-Benz CLK 350 convertible.
Well, earlier we saw the CLK Coupe. This is the convertible version. Again, a very Palm Beach kind of car. White over black with black wheels and a black top. I think it's a generational thing, Steve. My son is 23. He wants black wheels on his car. I think wheels are part of a car's jewelry. They should be silver or gold, or they should stand out.
I agree with that. The only thing good about a black wheel is that brake dust won't make them look as ugly as it would on a shiny chrome wheel. Less maintenance involved, but again, I like a shiny wheel myself. I agree.
And I'm corrected, brown interior in this one, which has been enjoyed for 75,000 miles. A lot of life left in this.
Finishes diamond white metallic. It features a black convertible power soft top Napa leather interior, and it rides on 18-inch set of AMG alloy wheel.
I got Doug at 15,000. Is that right? Oh, did you turn in him? Okay, right there in the back we got 14,000.
You know, as used cars go, never mind collector cars, this is a lot of car for very little money.
Especially where we've seen used car prices go these days. I mean, these days we've got used cars that are selling more than their brand new counterparts. So if you're just looking for something fun to cruise around in, then once again, it is a Mercedes. This isn't bad.
And like most of the brand, these were all automatics. No manual transmissions offered.
Top goes down, fun goes up. $14,500 for that 2009 Mercedes-Benz CLK 350. A little while ago, Tyler Hoover previewed a car that we're really looking forward to up on the block, and it's here now, a 1970 Fiat 500. Done up to look like an Abarth car.
So Carlos Abarth, or Abarth as they now say in the commercials, made exhaust systems for a lot of sports cars, and he made tuning parts for these little Fiats, 500 cc's. That's all you get, but I love the way that trunk kind of pretends to be a spoiler, but offers extra cooling. These were great in SCCA D sedan racing.
You might wonder why the windshield wipers are linked by this bar here. Well, what that does, it allows one motor to do the job, and this basically pulls and pushes the other wiper. In other words, the linkage is up top, invisible, instead of down low, but simple. Make one part, do two jobs.
Well, and there's another reason. You see these spindly little wipers? I think they're made from spaghetti. They're not very strong.
Tell you what, when you went to Italy back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, these things were everywhere. They started building them, I think, in the late 50s, 57 or so. Built them all the way through 1975. I'll tell you what, the people loved buying them, and they were great little cars.
Remember all the FASA ads in Road and Track and other magazines? Al Cosentina's company that made speed parts for these. Should you own one in the United States? Because 500 cc's not going to get you very far very fast.
That'll get you to $16,000 for that 1970 Fiat 500. Not a big performance car, but a fun little car to drive. Well, before we went to our commercial break, we previewed a car that's up on the block right now. It's a 2006 Dodge Magnum SRT8 station wagon.
You know, in the mid-aughts of the 2000s, the Wagoner was supposedly dead. Well, Dodge took a big chance and brought it back in the form of the Magnum. Now, there was a Chrysler version of this that was sold in Europe and with diesel power of all things. But here in this country, the Magnum was unto itself. Now, this is a good one. This is the SRT version with the 6.1-liter Hemi engine. The 5.7 would be the basic engine in an RT, but these ceased production so the Challenger could come on in 2008. So these were only built for a few years, and these are red-hot collectibles right now. It's a great, clean example.
Remember, the Magnum came before the Charger in this generation. It first came out, C.F. Schwartz, the dealer in Dover, Delaware, had one, loaned it to NASCAR President Mike Helton for the weekend. At the end of the weekend, Mike wouldn't give it back. He said, this is going in my collection down in Atlanta, and he made arrangements to buy it and take it home. Cool car.
Now, the SRT is a reference to the street and racing technology, kind of a play on RT. Of course, Dodge would rediscover the RT nomenclature on the base V8 wagon and, of course, on Challengers. But SRT is street and racing technology, not street racing technology, if you watch the videos on YouTube about these things. But
you know, for those of us who like station wagons, like the flying brake look, this was a great-looking station wagon, a great-looking car with performance. Like you say, 425 horsepower under the hood.
And you think now, Porsche has a Cayenne coupe, and BMW has one for their X6, and they all followed this. The coupe roof-looked station wagon utility. Well, there you go.
$27,000 for that Dodge Magnum. Away it goes. All right, you like RX-7s? You like rotaries? How about a 1989 Mazda RX-7 convertible?
These don't rev, they go hum, they hum, because there's a rotary engine under the hood. No pistons, no connecting rods. There's actually a triangular rotor inside of an ovoid case. I believe it's a twin rotor, maybe even a triple. But again, these things will rev to 7,000 RPM. And this is a second generation, this 1989 unit.
Yeah, this would be the two-rotor 13B generation of the Wankel engine. The earlier one was the 12A. Beautiful, beautiful, clean lines. And that convertible top looks brand new. The wheels were a fairly rare Mazda option. And this thing looks like it's in great shape.
And the word Wankel is a reference to Felix Wankel, a German engineer who patented and designed the idea of using a rotor going round and around. So the Wankel engine, again, a German item, but generally seen in Mazdas, which are Japanese cars.
You think about it, it makes complete sense. I mean, in a piston traditional engine, it goes down, it goes up. It has to stop and start. The concept of the Wankel engine was that rotor simply spun. It never actually stopped. The problem is it burned oil, it didn't get great mileage. It had plenty of issues as time went along. $15,000 for a 1989 Mazda RX-7 convertible. A little while ago, April previewed a 1988 Corvette 35th anniversary edition, and that's what's up on the block right now.
White on triple white, make it quadruple white. Even the wheels, those Cuisinart style wheels are white. That was all part of this 35th anniversary package.
Let's remember that, of course, the first year, 1953, all 300 of the Corvettes built were polo white, which is what this whites theme is all about. This has a 245 horsepower, two-port injection L89 350 Chevy with a 700 R4 automatic transmission. But again, the C4 Corvette is the Corvette that kind of redeemed Corvette's, well, lame reputation internationally. When these came out in '84, they were world class and only got better from there.
I love what they did with this. Even though it's triple white, the basket handle, which separates the removable roof from the rear glass, is also painted black, giving this the appearance of having a full glass greenhouse. Very sharp.
I've only owned one Corvette in my life. I had an '85 Coupe. Mine was a tune-port car, and I'll tell you what, man, Corvettes change your life. I don't know, it's just more fun to drive and to be seen. Now, I went from a Pinto to a Corvette, and that was in LA, where you are what you drive. So, but Corvettes are fun cars, and these are really inexpensive, these C4s, great value.
I'm not sure what changed your life more, getting a Corvette or leaving the Pinto behind.
Yes.
I will say that every time I drove the Pinto, when I heard skidding behind me, I reached for a roll of gauze. Love the dual exhaust effect on these. Now, this is a coupe, so it has iron cylinder heads. The Roadsters came with aluminum heads, but you gotta love that quad-tip dual exhaust. But check it out, they're actually fed by a single massive exhaust with a monolith catalytic converter. But the effect is awesome to see those symmetrical four pipes coming out the back. Supercar.
So look at this, we're at $11,000 for this '88 Corvette. Great eyeball appeal, 35-year anniversary edition. Looks great, it's got 245 horsepower, stronger than it was.
For Rick, it was the Radwood or Malaise era. It was when cars didn't have a lot of horsepower. This car did not accelerate strongly, but it cornered and rode very acceptably for its day. However, more powerful cars rule the roost, both before and since.
Yeah, and being in 1988, this has the digital dash, which only goes to 85 miles per hour, but you keep going, it'll keep going the curve. But again, 89, they finally got to 140, which is more realistic, but that 85 mile an hour speedometer thing was ending right about here in 1988.
I'll tell you what, if you grew up in the 80s, you grew up in the 90s, this was the Corvette that you grew up admiring and looking at. And it wasn't about the performance, it was about what the car looked like.
We'll see. I mean, these things will run a 14-second quarter mile at about 90 miles an hour, and that'll get your attention. I mean, we're kind of jaded today with 9-second demons and stuff like that, but a 14-second ride is pretty quick.
$13,500 for a 1988 Corvette. White on the outside, white on the inside, 245 horsepower, less than 40,000 miles on the odometer. So many spectacular cars, so many spectacular names yet to cross the block here at Palm Beach. We'll be right back. Oh, we got hot rods. We got hot rod Corvettes. We got SUVs. We got big trucks. Oh, so many amazing cars that will be crossing the block here at Barrett-Jackson Palm Beach. Remember, it's been 3 years since we've been here, and I can tell you, South Florida is anxious to be at a Barrett-Jackson collector car auction. The room has been packed all day, all kinds of people ready to bid, and up there right now, a 2003 Mercedes-Benz SL 500 convertible.
Well, a little confusing because it's badged as the supercharged V8 SL55. However, it does not wear that car's AMG-style bodywork, the bumpers front and rear. So it really is an SL500, which is the base version of the car in the very first year of this styling cycle.
Yeah, we used to make fun of owners for putting AMG badges on their cars that weren't hand-built by AMG, but now Mercedes is doing it themselves. They're up-badging their own cars, not hand-built AMG engines on current offerings, so I guess this told the future.
Well, they bought AMG, so they can do whatever they wish, I guess, kind of become like BMW's M division.
This has the Vario roof. Guys, are they reliable, bulletproof stuff?
Not bad, actually, and this one's actually the pano roof, which makes it even cooler.
Well, $13,500 makes it a cool little collection. 2003 Mercedes-Benz SL 500 convertible. All right, you want big and long, but only 2 doors? It's a 1971 Lincoln Continental. This one's a Mark III.
Anybody see the movie The French Connection? In other words, look inside the rockers. Look inside the rockers. When I was a kid, I watched that movie when Gene Hackman, they were chasing the French drug cartel, and he would pull this thing apart everywhere and took the rear axle out, and of course they found the stash in the rockers. But with that said, this is a beautiful car. This was introduced in '68 and really was Lee Iacocca's effort to dethrone the Eldorado, and it worked.
Yeah, this is a very clean Survivor here, and of course a lot of green, including in the interior. I actually had a 76 Lincoln with the same 460. It's one of the cars that caught fire on me, unfortunately. The carburetor overflowed, hit the spark plugs, and I had a brief fire that wasn't bad, but it did happen.
460 V8 Cartier clock. Yes, they were a supplier to Lincoln, just trying to up the luxury game a little bit. And the Continental, this is the vestigial Continental kit, which originally in the 50s, the bumper would be extended and the spare tire would be out here. That was a Continental kit, so it retains the styling touch, if not the function.
Impressive to think that this design initially came out in 1961. Elwood Angle came out, introduced it with the 61 Lincoln, and it's still in 71. They did a great job of stylizing it and kind of bringing it into the next decade.
Now, this is a body-on-frame car. A lot of insulation, something 130 pounds of insulation in the firewall and floor alone.
The build sheet is included, some early documentation, and this car has only 51,000 actual miles in 51 years. Wow.
Talking about that fake hump in the back, the Continental kit, if you will. They continued with 8 generations on this car, still the hump in the Mark 8 in the 2000s.
Tell you what, not bad money, $18,000 for a 1971 Lincoln Continental Mark III. All right, from 1971 luxury to 1972 sporty luxury, in this case a Mercedes-Benz 350 SL.
So this is the beginning right here of the 107 chassis of Mercedes, and you can see it has the nice slim bumpers. We're just a few years before the man days, before they put the big park benches on the front and rear. You still got a V8, a 3-speed transmission, but a very long-lived chassis, this thing, 1971 or 2 till 89. Here's a very early version.
So this is the 2-seater, the drop top. Oh no, it's not. This is a solid roof car. My goodness. No, this is a drop top 2-seater. They also made a lengthened long wheelbase coupe version in which the top was not removed. So this is probably a 2-top car, soft top and hard top.
This does have the correct wheels, but they have been either chrome-plated or polished, which is a classic dealer-level upgrade, which gives them more look. Often in Southern California, you'll see these things sitting brand new in a day at the dealership with this type of wheel polished up, but they left Germany with sort of a matte finish on those wheels.
Yeah, it's an aluminum hardtop, Mike, and I actually have an 85 one of these. And you can remove them by yourself. It is very heavy, but they call it the turtle method. You go inside, you get it on your back, and you just lift up onto it and walk out of the car. I've done it a few times, but I probably wouldn't try it again. You want to do it with 2 people.
Well, what's holding the number back is the number on the odometer, 158,000 miles. So this one has lived a long and happy life. Aftermarket stereo, newer paint, pretty car.
Bizarre effect on the rear muffler, the exhaust tip. You can see it's a single exhaust track. It's a V8, feeds into one catalytic converter, and again, but the twin pipes coming out, that is actually tuned to minimize exhaust back pressure, but to quiet it down. Kind of weird, but that's factory stuff.
$15,000 to the folks up in the skybox. You see the bidder's assistant. He's got that green cloth that he waves around to get everybody's attention. All right, coming up, check this out. It's a 1971 Volkswagen. It's a Type 3 Squareback. This is the car that I learned how to drive in, just like that. And we want to hear from you on social media. What do you have in way of history with this kind of car? Back here at the South Florida Fairgrounds, inside the arena, up on the block, we just saw this Mercedes 2003. This sold for $24,000. And rolling up behind it, said we got plenty of pickup trucks. We have no shortage of them. But first, we want to head out to April Rose, see what she's found that's coming up later in the week.
Oh man, I am in heaven right now. Now this is going across Super Saturday. This is what it's about. This is the real deal. This is a 1968 Yenko Super Camaro. I mean, take a look how clean that is. You could eat off of that. Complete rotisserie concourse restoration. One of 70 built in 1968. It's got the transplanted 427, 450 horsepower, which I kind of think there's a couple more ponies in there than that. M21 4-speed, finish in a super clean grotto blue, very well documented. I mean, this is rare. This is supercar royalty. This is what Super Saturday is all about. And I'm telling you, it's very well documented. If you don't believe me, it's all in this massive 3-inch book binder right here. And the great thing about Barrett-Jackson is if you come and hang out, you get to look through all of these builds. Very well documented. Super Saturday is going to be huge, Rick.
Yeah, that particular car, that Yenko Camaro from 1967, very, very special. I'm looking forward to seeing it cross the block when it hits. $16,000 right now, the current price on a 1984 GMC C10 pickup truck.
Yeah, nice example of a short bed. These are coming on strong, and I got to say, these are fairly uncommon. Back in the mid-'80s, when I was a kid growing up, about 7 out of 10 GMC or Chevy pickups were long beds. Maybe 3 out of 10 were shorties like this one.
Well, even when I was a kid in high school, there were a lot of these still on the road, and I wish I had kept every single short bed regular cab like this, because now they are really seeing some appreciation.
All right, $16,000 for that 84 GMC C10 pickup. When we were going to our commercial break, we talked about the fact that this car we'd see real soon, a 1971 Volkswagen Type 3 Squareback. And I have to admit, this is the type of car that I learned how to drive on. We had one of these when I was 16.
Well, I think Volkswagen, after decades of success with the Beetles, felt a compulsion to do something different. This was it. These were not massively successful. Still 4 cylinders, still air-cooled, but these were not the explosive success they had hoped for. The Rabbit would pick that up another 5 years or so after this. But again, a clean example. You never see these anymore.
Yeah, other than a repaint, this thing is very original interior. And one thing that I've noticed with these is kind of like electric cars nowadays, where you have all this storage because you have the front boot, obviously, with the trunk, and then the rear, where the engine is underneath, you have even more storage, like any Tesla or electric vehicle today, just like it.
I like the California blue plates that are hiding. There's one on the front of the car, and that tells us it's a California car, which is to say not a lot of rust or any. And here we have the tailgate opens up. The engine is underneath this panel here. I won't go. Well, there it is right there. Ta-da! This is fuel injected, I think. But anyway, there is flat 4, still air-cooled. Has a crane ignition coil. So a little bit of a hop-up item right there, but pretty cool. Very clean and pure and original.
Yeah, Steven, it's got a lower profile than a regular Beetle engine because it had to be that flat pancake style to fit back there. $17,000 for a 1971 Volkswagen Type 3, but we always just called it a Squareback. Let's check in with Christian Murphy.
Thanks very much, Rick. I'm down here with Steve Davis, the president of Barrett-Jackson. You've just come off a record breaking Scottsdale. How challenging was it to put together this amazing docket?
Well, Murph, it's been a long time coming to get back to Scottsdale. leaving Scottsdale, getting to Palm Beach has been a long, long ride. We've had so many incredible consignments come in. The problem was we had so many come in, and they came in rather late, and it was an absolute total exercise to get everybody in. And I will say, officially, we got 5 gallons in a gallon bucket, and I did not spill a drop, so we're good.
Unbelievable job. Coming up in a minute, we've got a charity car, of course. You've been a big driver of the charity for Barrett-Jackson, but tomorrow you create history with a very special event. Tell us a little bit about that.
Absolutely, Murph. Every car is special when it comes to charity, but tomorrow we have something really, really special. Good friend of ours, George Shin, incredible man, decided his wife woke up in the middle of the night and had a message that was delivered to her that said, you know what, you need to go to Barrett-Jackson and have a charity car benefit the people of Ukraine. And what an incredible opportunity that is for us to share our stage. But more importantly, we had another great consigner, Mark Pylok, who was going to also dedicate a car to Ukraine. So we joined forces, and we're going to create such an amazing moment. And Mark has a very interesting story in that his wife is Ukrainian, and her relatives flew in from the Ukraine. So the planets are aligned for something incredibly special. George Shin, with the help of our good friend Rick Hendrick, helped drive this thing to where we are right now. And everybody needs to tune in tomorrow at 4:30 to see something incredible, one of those Barrett-Jackson moments that will be on everybody's highlight reel as one of the most incredible moments ever in Barrett-Jackson to help the most incredible cause in our day right now.
Unbelievable. Creating history again. Thank you for all you do with charity. We've got a charity car coming up on the block, so I better let you get back to it. Okay. Back to you, Rick.
All right. Thanks a lot, gentlemen. Yeah, they have 7 charity cars that are going to cross the block during the course of this auction. Over the last 50 years, they've raised more than $140 million. Back here at the Barrett-Jackson Collector Car Auction in Palm Beach, and that's just a sampling of the cars that we'll see crossing the block over the course of the next 3 days. Nearly 700 cars, every single one of them selling at no reserve. Yeah, thumbs up, because it's great stuff. Up on the block now, a 2005 Chrysler Crossfire. This is an SRT6.
Well, we were talking about earlier how Mercedes were pretending to be AMGs. Here's an AMG pretending to be a Chrysler. This is built on the Mercedes SLK platform, actually. Has a supercharged Mercedes V8 under the hood. You look inside, it looks vaguely like a Mercedes, but on the outside, it's its own design from Chrysler.
Right, when you see the SRT6, you know you're looking at the supercharged V6 engine. Keep in mind, SRT could mean 4, SRT4 Neon, 4-cylinder, SRT10 Viper truck, SRT6, 6-cylinder here. But again, this is the supercharged model, and I would dare say at $25,000, it's twice what the standard one sold for a little while ago, so it's on its way. These are collectibles.
I misspoke, yeah, V6, so the SLK32, the C32, same engine as this Crossfire.
A solid money, $25,000, moves it into a tie for the top 3 sales of the day. In fact, let's take a look at today's top 5 sellers, brought to you by Hagerty. The number 1 sale so far, that cool 1966 Ford Thunderbird customized. Then there was a Dodge Magnum right behind it, and like I just said, $25,000. That's for that Chrysler Crossfire and a Chevy pickup. Mercedes-Benz SL500 squeezing in at $24,000. But as the day goes by, well, I got news for you. That top 5 is going to change a lot. And as the week goes by, that's not even going to be just a drop in the bucket to the prices we're going to see. 2004 Mercedes-Benz SL500.
Yes, this is the R230 chassis, so you have the first of the power retractable hardtop. This one also has AMG's badges added, but it's just a normal SL500. They added some black twin-spoke wheels that look like AMG wheels. Looks nice.
Yeah, this is a great use of the front engine platform, the long hood, short deck, just beautiful in profile. This is a muscle car. This is drool-worthy. If this is an American car, like a Galaxy or a Fairlane, an American name would be a Red Hot collectible. And again, it's a German muscle car. I got to get my head around that because I'm an American muscle car guy, but this thing is red hot.
Yeah, but it is also a very comfortable cross-country cruiser with an ABC and active suspension that's actually hydraulic, which harkens back to Mercedes of 30 years before. And you can see the build quality in this thing. It is very nice, even though it is an older car now.
And not overused, only 66,000 miles on the odometer, $22,000. Like I say, that's a great cross-country cruiser. You put the top up or keep it down, as the case may be. $22,000. Another Mercedes-Benz. This is another SL500 Roadster. This one from 2005.
Now this one looks much more stock, at least in the appearance. This is my favorite wheels on this generation. This kind of Ninja Star, 5-spoke wheels. But I do see some Rentec badges on this, which is the preeminent tuner for these things. Kind of a plug-and-play deal. You could add a lot of horsepower.
Speaking, the TriStar is in a bit of a void. When it's flush like that, that means it has the radar night vision. Tyler, do you know more about that? Or?
Yeah, it was pretty cool. It pops up in the gauges, I believe, on the S-Class. With these, it's just a, for cruise control, a very early version of Active Cruise or a collision alert and braking system that actually works. But when they were testing it and unveiling it to the public for the very first time, it failed, and one S-Class rear-ended the other in front of all the press and everybody. Of course, it's refined now and works pretty well.
Never fails. I remember in 2005, Mercedes TV commercials, and they showed a guy driving at night. A deer comes out in infrared. The car slows down because of that feature. Great sales tool. The deer jumping out in front of the car, and there it is.
Yeah, worked great in the commercials, just didn't work at the press preview.
It was a very early product at the time. Of course, now they had it for several years with the SL500. You saw the beautiful red leather interior, which also makes this thing pop a little bit more. Looks like a very nice example.
Of course, we also know how those press hacks can be at those automotive previews, me having been to a few and sneaking off at the corner of the proving grounds to do a burnout and being chewed out for it. You can't always blame the car. It's often a loose nut behind the wheel.
Well, $20,000 for a 2005 Mercedes-Benz SL500 Roadster. 302 horses from that 5-liter V8 engine. Right behind it, we got a 2000 Camaro SS convertible.
Well, SS was a step beyond Z28. Of course, that entailed the fiberglass cold air hood, which actually does function. And the SSs were sort of tier 2 builds done by SLP Performance, and that included 320 horsepower out of the 5-liter of the 5.7 LS1. This is a 6-speed car, too, and it's a rare bird convertible.
Yeah, sort of the last few years of the 4th generation, and I thought they got really nice here. Maybe the Catfish nose isn't as pretty as the early ones, but of course you want the LS engine over the LT1 for the power, for the tunability. This one, though, doesn't look like it's had any mods done to it as well. It's just a very nice original example.
While same-year Mustangs had 5-speed manuals, unless you're talking Cobra, these came with a 6-speed, which of course was the T56, which was designed in a collaboration between General Motors and Dodge for the Viper and heavy-duty use like this. The T56, again, born for cars like this.
And while this was near the end of the 4th generation, and there'd be a big gap before the 5th generation, it makes us wonder what is the future of the current generation of Camaro. Where is it going to go? Is it going to continue on or not, Steve?
I hope it keeps going. I mean, to me, a three-way fight, a three-way pony fight, Mustang, Challenger, Camaro, we got to have it. It can't stop.
Mike 1, please. Mike 1.
Time to sell a car for a great cause here at Barrett-Jackson.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a very special car and a more incredible cause. So please watch your monitors, and we'll be talking about something very, very special in 1 minute.
Hi, I'm Steve Ramsey, and along with my wife, Darlene, we would like to offer this Shelby GT500 for sale to you to help support Johns Hopkins University being cancer survivors. We know how important it is to continue funding for cancer research. So we're calling on all our friends at Barrett-Jackson to help us support research for pancreatic cancer through Johns Hopkins University.
Yeah, folks, actually, Steve and his beautiful wife were en route to Scottsdale in January when she had some issues and went into the doctor, and unfortunately here we are today, or fortunately, because we're going to help raise a whole lot of money. We've got a very special guest right now, and I'd like to turn the mic over to him. But this is Michael Hibler, Executive Director of Development at Johns Hopkins Kimmel Cancer Center. Give him a great round of applause, folks. We've all been touched by this. I know we all have.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you to the Barrett-Jackson family, and particularly Steve and Darlene Ramsey. The Johns Hopkins Kimmel Cancer Center is one of the country's great cancer research and clinical career organizations. We often hear from our patients and families that the scariest 3 words that they hear are, "You have cancer." However, at Hopkins, we are singularly focused on the next 3 words. And those next 3 words are, "There is hope." So with this car today, a true golden ticket, help us fuel innovation, accelerate discovery for pancreas cancer research at Johns Hopkins, and thank you so much for having us here.
Give a round of applause, folks, please. Tell you something about the car real quick. All of you folks out there know what the 2020 Shelbys were all about. Incredible cars. Absolutely the best you could get was the carbon fiber track pack. Not all dealers got an acquisition, therefore they became known as the golden ticket cars. This is one of those. Steve is connected with the Ford folks. He was a proud recipient of this car, and because of the situation, he wanted to give something that was very personal and close to him and his wife. This is it. It's the real deal. It's like brand new. Bid from your heart, not from your wallet. It's going for a great cause from one of our extended Barrett Jackson family members. I don't know where Steve and if his wife's here, but God bless him. Let's raise some money, folks. Let's get her, Joseph.
All right, here we go.
All right, away we go with the 2020 Ford Shelby GT500. Remember, every penny will benefit cancer research to fight pancreatic cancer.
Now, even without the golden ticket, which this one has, all the carbon fiber goodies, the track pack, these are really special cars. 760 horsepower dual clutch transmission out of a Mustang. This is probably the top of the mountain when it comes to pony cars ever.
Now, just as the original GT50 had a big brother, the GT500, same thing here. Now, they both share the 5.2 V8, but this one has the supercharger, which is why it's over 600 horse.
One criticism was you couldn't get one of these with a manual transmission like the GT350, but with 760 horsepower, I don't know if you would. I drive one of these all the time, and the dual clutch is so good on these. They've actually programmed it to shift before you completely touch the paddle, so it's the quickest shifting dual clutch I have ever felt.
Like today with a Corvette, you can't buy a manual transmission because the computer is so much faster. I remember several years ago with Ferraris, they were doing tests and you simply couldn't keep up, and that's the case with this car.
The carbon fiber track pack, of course, includes carbon fiber wing. That's not a day two boy racer add-on. That's factory stuff, and that is absolutely wind tunnel verified. All the stuff down here, the gating down below, the strakes, the place where the air comes in, goes out, that's all validated to increase downforce. Nothing there for looks only. This is all about function.
Now, the MSRP on these starts at about $80,000, but with all the options like this, you can get close to $100,000. Obviously, we are well above that for a great cause, but they also do sell on their own for well above MSRP.
And as they point out, the thing that happens here with these charity cars is the check is written directly to the charity. There is no commission taken out. Every single penny, currently bid at $170,000, now continuing to climb, is going to help pancreatic cancer research at the Kimmel's Cancer Center at Johns Hopkins University. And I can tell you, pancreatic cancer, a very difficult cancer to battle. Those who've been affected by it know it. And so it's great to see good money being raised. We're closing in on 200,000. $185,000, all of it going to help cancer research at Johns Hopkins University for a 2020 Ford Shelby GT500. We called it the golden ticket because it's so rare. Coming up in just a little bit, another Mustang from, well, a few decades earlier, from 1966. This is a two-door coupe, finished in ember glow. Only one family has owned this its entire life. Been a great day so far for the first day of the Barrett Jackson Collector Car Auction. This Thursday coverage, and up at the block right now, we got a 1964 GMC. It's a 2500 panel delivery truck.
Well, don't call it a Suburban, of course. As a passenger vehicle, it would be a Suburban. This one, again, is a long body, often purchased by TV repair shops, industrial use. Again, panel van. This one has been resto-modded. The 283 is now a 301. It's got a 5-speed overdrive manual from a more recent GMC truck, as are the wheels from that. Otherwise, it presents like something brand new in a dealership in '64. Kind of cool.
Yeah, much larger wheels. I only question the transmission choice. I have had 5-speed pickups and 5-speed trucks, And for towing, I would rather have an automatic. Today's automatic transmission's far superior to rowing your own boat. But I appreciate what they've done here with what's claimed to be a partial restoration with all new paint.
And the upgrades are somewhat limited. It still has the drum brakes all the way around. It has not been given a disc brake conversion. But with that said, the drums on this thing are massive. They're like 12-inch diameter goodies. But to your point, Mike, yeah, there is a big trailer hitch on this puppy. So rowing those 5 gears, with an Airstream behind it, well, you got a little more work ahead of you.
So how long is it? That is a 133-inch wheelbase, and that's right around 11 feet.
Yeah, plus you got plenty of truck hanging out the back end of this, so this is a long beast.
Along those lines, the new Jeep Gladiator is within about 6 inches of this thing. Gladiators are huge. I love them, but this is big too.
Like I said, panel trucks were perfect for delivering equipment for any company. Plus, not only could you not see inside, but it was great for signage on the side. Congratulations to that gentleman as the Summit Racing sticker goes on, and away it goes for a price of $27,000. From the 60s, go back to the 50s. We're going to have pickup trucks from just about every generation. This one's a 1952 Dodge.
Well, this one has a flathead 6. In just 2 more years, this could have had the 241 Red Ram Hemi V8 power plant. But again, they were all 6-bangers in 1952. But a nice restoration on this one. The wide whites are definitely not a dealer item, but it looks good.
We don't see these very often because these were work trucks. Most of them were rode hard, put away wet, and ended up in the salvage yard or at the crusher. But this one has been restored to a nice standard. Now, I like what they've done with the dashboard, a little bit of styling touch here. In front of the driver, you have the speedometer, and below it, a square binnacle for the accessory or the lesser gauges. On the right side, you have the same thing, but I think the round area might be a radio speaker and such. But they've kind of evened up that styling side to side.
To that point, Mike, this is a radio delete truck. Let's have a look at that dash you mentioned and open this up. You'll see it's a nice case of symmetry. Indeed, Mike. Good call on that one. Left and right symmetrical. But the thing in the middle, that horizontal plate, that's the delete where the head of the radio would go. But that's a delete system right there. But a lot of folks did get radios in their trucks starting in the mid-50s. But before that, of course, there were strictly workhorses. Now you can get satellite XM, all this stuff in the factory in your truck. But trucks have come a long way.
Well, it's come a long way to reach $23,000. I can't imagine the original owner of this truck could possibly imagine pulling that kind of money for a 1952 Dodge pickup back in its day. Hold up behind it, this is a Mustang that we previewed just a little while ago, a 66 Mustang two-door coupe.
This one's a T-code 6-cylinder car, and if we could take these hubcaps off, we'd see 4-lug wheels. Keep in mind, the Falcon and the Mustang share the same bones. If you had a V8, you'd get 5-lug wheels. But again, with that said, it's a nice, pure, original piece with the original window sticker.
And a tear in the eye of the original owner as she exits the car and sends it off to a new home. How do we know it's a 66? Very simple, one styling cue, and that is this cast applique at the end of the scoop down the side. That is 1966 only. However, the GTs did not have that, so not every 66 has it, most of them do.
Speaking of that window sticker, well, here she is, right here. Very cool. Sold new, I believe, in Michigan and then used in Atlanta, Georgia. But there it is, 6-cylinder car, automatic, very basic. And this is what a lot of the Mustangs were. They weren't all Shelbys.
You know, something interesting, it's up on the cowl of this. After we look at the interior, go up to the cowl, there is a cover for the vent. And the problem was, back in the mid-60s, they built these in such a way that the water would collect in there and it would rust out. And when it rusts out, it goes into the floorboards, which are carpeting always. So you can buy that little cover. You can buy it from various aftermarket parts. And replacing that internal part is very difficult. You've got to take the rivets out, re-weld it. It's very complicated. So that little cover solves that problem.
I'm with a lady who bought it new and has to say goodbye today. Little tear in the corner of the eye, and I can't say I blame her. What a wonderful car, and what a great story it must have.
Yeah, when she got out of that car, she turned and planted a kiss for it right on the roof. Away it goes for $22,000. We'll come back to the Barrett-Jackson collector car auction. Plenty of cars filling plenty of dreams today. What a great day to hang out in Palm Beach. Look at all the people out there. Remember, it's been 3 years since we had an auction here. I think people are anxious and ready to come to a Barrett-Jackson collector car event. Plenty of cars, plenty of folks inside who are bidding on the cars on the block, or in this case, the truck on the block. A big beast, the 2001 Chevy K3500 Crew Cab Dually. It's got everything.
This is ready to do towing, any kind of towing you might want. There's the hitch with the electric connectors, and this does have the dually rear axle, totally fact. This is not a conversion. Dually was new for '73, and of course the 3+3 cab, big stuff in the mid-'70s, but by 2000, 2001, to be expected in any heavy-duty truck like this. Duramax diesel, 5-speed automatic. It's a premium hauling vehicle.
Now, one thing Barrett-Jackson does with every car and truck new enough to have a 17-digit vehicle identification number. They run a vehicle history report, and they disclose that to the bidders. And on this truck, this shows 2 instances of damage, one to the front, one to the rear. The second one is said to be minor. The first one not further disclosed. So that's great information to have so you can bid accordingly on a car that has, or truck that has, in this case it looks like, been restored to pre-accident condition.
Inside of the bed. Oh, she's locked. Can't do it. Rear axle's kind of cool. It has an aftermarket aluminum cover, and the idea behind that is that it increases the amount of fluid capacity in differential for cooler running.
Well, the way that beast goes for $26,000. Congratulations. We're going to head out to the McGuire staging lane in April Rose.
Oh, Rick, you just missed the huge downpour. All these beautiful cars are getting wiped off before they go across the block, and especially this baby right here, 1991 Z28 1LE. This is a third-generation Camaro. They built 478 of these Z28s in 1991. It's got the 1LE performance package. You have 2 engine options with this, the 305 with a 5-speed manual, or this, the 350 with a 4-speed automatic. Now, I do like these ground effects they redesigned in 1991, a bit more intricate with this cove area in the back. It's finished in Quasar blue. I mean, this is a fun ride. Everyone knows this third-generation body style when you're on the road. They definitely stand out. DeBrule?
Yeah, and I just love the name of the color, Quasar Blue. It just sounds so futuristic. You know what they say, April showers bring May flowers. So we'll stand by and survive it. Up on the block right now in 1989, this is a Mustang LX Custom convertible.
Well, the 5.0, the Magic 5.0, was available in the GT or the LX, and indeed that's what we have here. Now, this is a lowered car. The stance is about an inch lower than stock. The hood's not open right now, but it's got a Texas Turbo cold air system feeding its normally aspirated fuel-injected 302. This is a 5-speed car, which is very, very good news.
79,000 miles on this one. Now, Barrett-Jackson uses the word custom liberally for any car that is not completely stock, and in this case, it's the wheels, aftermarket wheels on this one.
$15,000, that's the price for a 1989 Ford Mustang LX Custom. About a quarter of all the Mustangs built that year were convertibles, and this is one of them. Another convertible. This was a Roadster following a 2003 Mercedes-Benz SL55 AMG.
Now, remember earlier we had an SL500 badged car, and I said it did not have the AMG front and rear aprons. This lower apron with these grills, much more of a high-performance look. And this is a true AMG SL55 with the supercharged 5-liter V8.
To that point, the fenders say compressor, which is, of course, German for supercharger with a K. I love that. Manual transmission not available in these, but that's okay. The 6-speed automatic was quick shifting piece.
Carbon fiber rear spoiler and those lightweight 5-spoke wheels, those are original to the car. Silver over gray with burled wood, and again, the first year, 2003, of this styling cycle.
Earlier we saw Tyler Hoover show us the turtle method of removing the SL roof, where you get in the car, you lift it up. Not here. This is a Roadster, but that metal roof does fold down inside. Again, part of the Vario roof equipment feature on this one. Cool.
Steve, earlier you were talking about what a muscle car. I mean, this has almost 500 horsepower. That was 2003.
The only thing that holds this number back is the odometer. Again, this one's been enjoyed for 80,000 miles.
Well, still hasn't turned a century. $23,000 for that 2003 Mercedes-Benz SL55 AMG. A 2005 BMW 645 convertible up in the block.
Well, I don't know if Chris Bangle is watching. We love you, sir, but boy, the trunk treatment on these things, called the Bangle butt, if you will, kind of interesting. Just squared off, and it's a design language which really got away from the traditional BMW look. Some like it, some don't. You call it.
I like it. I had one in coupe form, and it was very distinctive. This is a soft-top convertible, and note that the rear window comes up to act as a wind blocker.
And honestly, this is one of the better looking convertibles for its day. I think they did a great job of making that convertible line up with the traditional roof body style.
Huge wheels and tires added to this one, so good bit of aftermarket customizing. Currently bid to $17,000.
Well, that'll do it for our first 2 hours of live coverage here on FYI. But you know what? We're just getting rolling today. We still have another 3 action-packed hours to go. Welcome to the world's greatest collector car auction. This is Barrett-Jackson, Palm Beach. Plenty of people in the house, plenty of people outside. Everybody's been waiting to come to Palm Beach and see the great cars that'll be crossing the block. It's just going to get better and better, and right now, we've got a 2005 BMW 645 convertible.
Only 70,000 miles on this one, which by the year for 17 years, that's not a lot, and it presents very, very well in silver over ivory, but with really big aftermarket wheels.
It's a beautiful interior. Look at this, a 4-seater with the central drive shaft tunnel, but just beautiful stuff. What a deal for under 20,000 bucks so far. It's going up. I'm not surprised.
Hammers down $20,000. Remember, they'll pay a 10% buyer's premium on top of that, but not a bad price for a 2005 BMW 645. Well, earlier today, we saw a 1987 Suburban go across the block. That one had been owned by Ted Williams, that he used to use on his ranch up in Canada. This one, well, not quite as much fame attached to it, but still pretty cool, a 1987 GMC Suburban.
Well, a GMC, not a Chevy, a 4-wheel drive version, white over beige interior, a Coverlay carpet over the dash. You have to assume cracks underneath, but I like the vinyl striping on this. Gives it a great look and has held up very, very well on what presents to be an unrestored car.
You know, it's funny, while the Jeep Wagoneer was a similar competing vehicle, like they had a thing called Quadra-Track, which was automatic 4-wheel drive. With this, you still had to get out and lock in the front hubs manually. So if you're stuck in the mud, you're going to get out, but that's the locker right there to get the front axles to start turning.
I can't believe the shape this is in for its 175,000 miles shown. Very nice. A lot of room, 9-passenger, extra blower motor there for the heating system. 9-passenger and lots of carry room.
Well, I owned one of these back in 1987, and at the time, we just thought of it as the first of the big SUVs in terms of the ability. I thought of it as a family car. I remember at one point I was trying to convince some writers for Road and Track that they should do a review of this, and they're like, no, that's an industrial car. I'm like, nope. When I live in Phoenix, this is a family car.
You got to remember that Ford did not match this for many, many years, and they finally did with the Excursion, a massive F-250-based answer to this. And that only made about 5 years of production. So the Suburban was sort of a Chevy-only thing since 1932, one of the longest names in the industry.
I'm not sure if Suburban is the only model name shared between 2 brands as part of the same company, but Chevy and GMC both called this Suburban.
Well, $16,000 by the pound. That's a pretty good deal for that 1987 Mercedes-Benz SL55 AMG. We're going to check in with Tyler Hoover.
Well, here's a car that certainly has presence. You would think Liberace would pull up and get out of his Rolls-Royce, but it's not a Rolls-Royce. It is a 1964 Bentley S3. And at the time, Bentley and Rolls-Royce had combined. They were building cars in the same assembly line, and very few things differentiated. You can see the flying B logo and the B instead of the Spirit of Ecstasy. I noticed on the wheels, the hubcaps, they sort of look like knockoff wheels, but it's just a hubcap. And this car, it has a very nice respray, but one thing that's really cool is the interior is totally original, or appears to be. These interiors were overbuilt with a thick, rich leather. It looks very, very nice. You see the wood on the dashboard, also original finish. This is where the quality really was in a vintage Bentley. One thing that can be kind of stumped, though, is this switch here on the steering column, which has a normal and a high, I think, which maybe has to do with the steering. You put it in high so you can steer around traffic easier, but otherwise very analog, very old school in this thing. A beautiful example.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if that was driving around Palm Beach a long time ago and people were living in the lap of luxury, being driven around by somebody, no doubt. A little more luxury up on the block. Sporty luxury, a 2005 Mercedes-Benz SL55 AMG.
And of all the ones of these we've seen, Rick, I like this one best. Only 61,000 miles on the clock.
And again, we see the compressor logos on the front fender, supercharged car.
Well, it's interesting, you know, these cars are truly becoming collectible now. People are beginning to appreciate the value that they're bringing as well as the performance. Up on the block now, we've got a 2005 Mercedes-Benz SL55 AMG Roadster. Well, hang on, no, we don't have. That's what everybody's looking at in terms of the room. It's saying it's a Roadster, but this is a 300 SE sedan.
Indeed, yeah, lot 73.1. That decimal thing is confusing us. But again, a nice example of something that was very commonly seen on the streets of New York City, Boston, Los Angeles, and throughout the country. Again, this was Mercedes full-size luxury sedan. Fairly common car in its time, but hard to find a clean one today.
Well, this car has spent its life in a southern climate, looking at the aftermarket window tint that has been added. It's not 100%, but it's 80 or right up there. This car shows the evidence of quite a bit of use, again, probably in a southern climate. And, you know, some aftermarket offshore tires on this one to get it freshened up for auction. Inline 6, 217 horsepower. That's all the car card says. The rest of it is a mystery.
That's right. This is the base power plant. You can see what looks to be dual exhaust here. That's actually, again, a Mercedes-Benz thing where one exhaust track does the job, but two outlets reduce back pressure while still keeping it quiet. And again, this is the mildest, smallest engine available. Of course, there are V8s and V12s available in this family, but again, this is the basic entry car.
90,000 miles on the clock, looks like more.
Hey, you think about it, 90,000 miles for 3 decades of use isn't too bad. But, once again, this is not a true solid collectible. It doesn't have the performance of some of the later Mercedes.
And these are built like tanks and pretty reliable. I would say it's a good value at this money for sure.
One thing Mercedes did very, very well is look at the bumpers and look at how little they protrude from the body. A lot of engineering has to go into that to meet the crash test laws, but Mercedes probably did that better than anybody at the time.
We're on line number 73.1, ladies and gentlemen. We don't want any mistakes on the board. 73.1 is the 1992 Mercedes-Benz 300 SE sedan. That's the SE sedan. Has a larger 3.2-liter inline 6 engine, 217 horsepower, and an automatic transmission. We got the board correct now. We're on line number 73.1.
Well, they had a little bit of confusion in the room because one of the cars that was supposed to be on the auction got moved aside, and as a result, they had the wrong graphic up, so they kind of had to stop things down and make sure the crowd knew exactly what car was up on the block.
How the windows are flush fit to the car. Again, all about aerodynamics and minimizing drag for better fuel economy.
$6,000 for a 92 Mercedes-Benz 300 SE. All right, coming up in just a little bit, I love this. It's a 1982 Checker Marathon. It's a taxi sedan. And guess what? It only has 374 miles on the odometer. Day one of our Barrett-Jackson Collector Car Auction from Palm Beach. We call it entry-level day because the prices aren't quite as spectacular. The cars are a little more fun. Up there right now is the car that April Rose previewed for us, a 1991 Z28.
Well, if you wanted to go SCCA road racing in showroom stock, you ordered a Z28 with the 1LE package, and this is it. That got you the road race suspension, added cooling, the trick four-wheel disc brakes. Most of them were manual transmissions for racing. This one nicely done up with an automatic for the street. As Craig Jackson's telling the bidders, this is quite a rare car. 70-some thousand miles on this one, so it's had a busy life, but it's still in very nice shape.
And as you point out, for showroom stock racing, this one also has a radio delete, so somebody might have been thinking that's exactly what they wanted to do with this when they shipped it out. Not sure whether it ever did any racing. Of course, showroom stock, the concept was they had showroom stock A, B, and C. You took a stock car, put a roll cage in, and went racing with the thing. $16,000 for a 1991 Camaro Z28 1LE. All right, distant cousin in that generation from General Motors. In this case, it's a 1994 Pontiac Firebird Formula Firehawk.
Well, the Formula was a performance model of the Firebird with Ram Air, and this one does have a 6-speed manual, thank goodness. And then Firehawk was an aftermarket conversion of both appearance and performance items.
Yeah, you had multiple options. You had the Trans Am, of course, and then you worked your way through the range, but the idea of having the Formula, well, it was just another way to sell performance from Firebird.
So this also got a road race style suspension and four-wheel disc brakes, and was probably one of the more capable GMF bodies of the era. Let's see, can't quite read the odometer here. Looks like it says 04641. Not sure if that's 4,000 miles or 104. It would take some further research for that.
And as we often point out, you know, they have a car card for every card, and sometimes the consigner's great. They put tons of information. In this case, they haven't given us a lot of information. And the general rule of thumb is when you're looking at a car and there's not a lot of information, just assume, for example, that the mileage may not be original, as the case may be. You don't want to make assumptions that everything is original unless it says that on the car card. Doesn't mean it's not, but you want to be sure.
I was mistaken, Rick. 46,400 miles. I missed a digit.
That's still pretty interesting. Not bad for nearly 3 decades of use.
And it looks great for that.
Yeah, 315 horsepower. Remember, in the 1990s, that was pretty solid power coming out of a car.
Special Firehawk wheels showing some signs of wear. Replacement Kumho tires. But the body of this car looks showroom fresh.
And who would have thought in 1994 that Pontiac would go away and Buick would still be around? I think a lot of people would have been shocked back in those days.
I was. But the books I've read indicated that Buick was considered a prestige nameplate in China, somewhere General Motors was very interested in selling cars. And that's why when the hammer dropped, it fell on the Tin Indian rather than the Buick.
All right, rolling up behind it, we've got a 2006 BMW 650i convertible.
So the 6 is the 6 Series car, two-door hardtop and convertible. The 50 indicates the 5-liter V8, and the I is for fuel injection, as they all were. Very nice gray-green metallic over black with very dark burled wood inside. And as we showed you earlier, the rear window glass is vertical, and it can be raised as a wind blocker. One of the first such cars so equipped.
You know, the 6 Series goes back to 1976, very sleek in its time. They did a job of modernizing that look, I think, by the time they came to this generation.
I'm not a fan of these wheels. They are BMW factory, but I think they're kind of like a daisy pedal wheel. More style than performance here. But this car has covered less than 50,000 miles in its history. One neat little trick is opening the trunk, and I haven't tried to see if it's locked, but you take the BMW Roundel folded forward, and that's the latch. And even with the top down, pretty good trunk capacity. And this one has a spare tire underneath, something seldom seen today.
Like I mentioned earlier, it is a convertible. I love the way this looks with the top up. I think for a convertible, a lot of convertibles look kind of clunky. The sleek styling they did with the convertible top, I think looks good on this car.
Come back, look. Let's have a look at this taillight back here, because BMW kind of thought of everything. See these little strakes on the taillight? That was to prevent dirt and dust buildup on the lens.
Well, $28,000 for a 2006 BMW 650i. All right, back in 1957, the county donated the property to make it possible for the South Florida Fairgrounds to exist. That's why we're here today. So every auction, we try to highlight one particular year. So we've decided to choose 1957. And here's April Rose with a car she found to highlight that year.
In 1957, if you wanted a top-of-the-line family car, luxury with a sporty edge, this was it, the 1957 Chevy Nomad. Now this one's a bit upgraded. It's got a GM LT1 absolutely decked out with tons of chrome, polished aluminum. Now take a look inside. It grabs you instantly with that bold, bright red hand-stitched leather. Just a great example of a well-done resto mod that would absolutely blow your mind if you saw it like this back in 1957.
Yeah, a lot of great cars. We'll be highlighting them throughout the course of this Barrett-Jackson collector car auction here in Palm Beach. We'll be right back. Well, moments ago here in Palm Beach, we saw a woman step out of this car. She was the original owner, bought it new, planted one last kiss before it went off to a new owner. Just one of the many emotional moments that we've seen here at Barrett-Jackson when original owners sell their car. And there was one in Scottsdale that happened just a few months ago that truly brought a tear to everybody's eye.
The consignor says that this is a one-owner car, and here he is in 2D, and there he is, tears in his eyes in 3D, because this car that he's owned since 1963 is about to find a new home. Well, Fred, you're going to be a wealthy young man. $300,000, $325 bid. You know, you keep a car for 60 years, it becomes one of the family, especially when it's such a cherished possession as this one.
$350,000. The gentleman who bought it is happy. The gentleman who sold it, and it's a sad moment, but his work has been recognized. $350,000. Yeah, the beauty of that Corvette that sold, he'd had it so long, but he'd refurbished it, he'd restored it, and when it crossed the block in Scottsdale, it was a beautiful piece of machinery and all his work. Bittersweet moment, but it definitely paid off. Up on the block now, a 2003 Roush Stage 2 Mustang.
Signed by Jack Roush and, of course, modified by his company in Livonia, Michigan, and only driven 1,000 miles per year since new.
Keep in mind, 2002 is the next to last year for the SN95. And a great little platform, 4.6 liters, and of course, Roush is basically a modern-day Shelby, in a sense, a Tier 2 modifier, and just a great example of the breed.
Beautiful midnight blue over tan leather. Jack Roush's signature embossed in the seats. 5-speed manual, all the performance upgrades, Roush Premium 18-inch wheels.
When I hear the name Jack Roush, I think of Gap in Roush, the pro stock racers of the early 1970s, the four-door taxi, the Pinto, and really one of the big threats to Sox and Martin and Bill Jenkins in the early days of pro stock. Jack Roush, today a major powerhouse in the world of NASCAR, etc. But back in the 70s, Gap and Roush pro stockers.
Well, only 23,000 miles on the odometer for that Roush Stage 2 convertible. All right, time now for some Hagerty Fast Facts on the next car we're going to watch across the block. In this case, it's a 1982 Checker Marathon Taxi. It was produced by Checker Motors, which is a company out of Kalamazoo, built between 1961 and 1982, almost a 20-year run, built as 4-door sedans. They also had 4-door station wagons and the pretty rare 8-door, 12-seater Aerobus wagon.
Now, typically, these would end their career with 400,000 miles. This one has only 400 actual miles.
Early on, Checker used engines made by Hercules, etc., but by this point in time, GM, that is a Chevrolet 229 V6. Yes, a modern Chevy V6 in an antique Checker. And again, antique, I say that because this Checker platform goes back to the early 50s, ran for 30 years, but again, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Something amazing about the Checker cab is the back seat is massive and the floor is flat. And that basically, there's no drive shaft tunnel, so maximum room for occupants, fares, as it were. A great example of the breed. These are usually used up and thrown away, but not here.
I've got to hear the story, though. How could this car sit for 40 years and only acquire 400 miles?
Well, I have a theory about this. This was built the last year that Checker was making taxis. So when this was built, taxi companies were already moving on. They wanted to do something else, and it's very possible that this simply wasn't the car that people wanted. They wanted something else, and it was the last of the breed.
Huge trunk for lots of suitcases. Not very elegant, a little hand screw type latch, but again, these were functional pieces.
Well, Steve's having to work at closing it, but he's going to get it done eventually. Well, just think, less than 400 miles on this taxi cab and $19,000. Essentially a brand new 1982 Checker Marathon. Taxi sign on the top, and away it goes. Seen a lot of great Mercedes crossing the block. We've got another SL55 AMG. This from 2003, but this one even more unique. It's a Lorenzer.
Yes, the Lorenzer package added, it added this applique around the grille. It added lower body side moldings and a rear spoiler to what was already a pretty potent performance car, the Mercedes SL55. I'm seeing 83,000 miles, I think, on the odometer.
To my eye, we might call this gilding the lily. You know, the add-on body kit and stuff by Lorenzer is exclusive, but in my eyes, kind of busies things up. These are beautiful cars.
So former NASCAR team owner Felix Sabates, when he had his Mercedes dealership in South Charlotte, tried to sell me one of these, but I didn't live in a neighborhood where everybody else had an SL, and I needed one that looked a little different.
Again, we see the compressor logo on the fender, of course, German for supercharger and Uber performance.
Those AMG 5-spoke wheels found their way onto a lot of other Mercedes and look suspiciously like the ones that came on the mid-90s ZR1 Corvette.
I love the exhaust treatment on this 4 tips out the back, and that's true dual exhaust. This, of course, by the point in time when catalytic converters, while they were expensive, were added into the cost of the vehicle. So this car has, I think, 6 catalytic converters in place rather than the single pipe you would find under a Corvette in the 1980s. But again, the quality is in these cars from the front to the back, from the nose to the tailpipe. All 4 of them.
$26,000 for all 493 horsepower. All right, we're going to head to the McGuire staging lane and check in with Tyler Hoover.
Well, lot 91 right here is a great way to get into a resto-modded Charger without probably having to spend a fortune like you would on a 68 to 70, because it is a 1971, the first year of the new body style. And I really like these, especially this one with the graphics that really set off the lines of the car, very period 70s. And you also get that full Mopar experience with the pistol grip shifter, bucket seats, but this one is resto modded. You go under the hood, you have a 5.7 liter Hemi from a 2012 Dodge Charger. So you get the full experience of a resto mod in an unusual 1971 that presents itself really well. I'm interested in this one personally.
Yeah, very, very nice. We'll see it up on the block soon. And from one Tyler Hoover car to another one he previewed, in this case, a 1964 Bentley S3 Saloon.
This is just beautiful. The silver is gleaming. It's the equal of any modern paint job. The metallic blue, the Bentley grille. The British, they love their badges. So here's a badge from the Bentley Club, the Rolls-Royce Club, Keystone region of the Rolls-Royce Club, and another one. How about these Lucas flamethrower spotlights? Had a set of these, had them on a car, and I think it would melt the vinyl shutters of the house at the end of the street.
This is powered by a V8, and yes, Rolls-Royce / Bentley came up with their own V8 in 1959, 6.4 liters, and we got right, 6.2 liters, single exhaust. Again, that was not about performance, and in fact, Rolls-Royce and Bentley didn't advertise horsepower. They simply said adequate.
$30,000 is an adequate price for a 1964 Bentley S3 Saloon, all that luxury. It's going to cost you less than any Lexus, any Acura. Oh, very, very nice. And I love that Bentley on the hood. All right, coming up in just a little bit, a 1995 Pontiac Firebird SLP Firehawk will be crossing the block. Love the purple. One of only 41 that came in this color back in that year. It'll be up on the block very, very soon. Back here at Barrett-Jackson, first thing you see when you walk in the manufacturer's showcase, and that's the great thing about Barrett-Jackson. There's so much to see, so much to do. All the great new cars that are on display, as well as all the great old cars that are going to be crossing the block. It's like a 3-ring circuit. It's great to experience it in person, whether it's here in Palm Beach, Las Vegas, Houston, or Scottsdale. Up on the block now, a 1984 Jeep CJ7.
Well, CJ7, of course, has a longer wheelbase than would a CJ5 or a CJ6. Not to be confused with a Scrambler pickup truck, but again, a nice example of the breed, 6-cylinder power.
And for $18,000, got a new owner.
$18,000 the hammer price. While we were away, what the Karmann Ghia was to the Volkswagen Bug, the Caravelle was to the little Renault Dauphine sedan in the 1960s. 1,100 cc's, no power, 3-speed manual transmission, 3 lug wheels. I mean, lug nuts were expensive and 3 would do the job, right? This was a gutless wonder. Stylish, but they just did not go. $20,000 for this nicely restored example of a rare find.
And I joked back then, we didn't call them Renaults, we called them Renaults. We didn't know about the proper pronunciation of the name back then. Up on the block, a 1987 Chevy C10 pickup.
Oh, 87, the final year for this styling cycle from 73 up. Of course, we'd have the much more aerodynamic version in 88. So here it is, the end of the line, of course, being a short bed, smooth side, half-ton. This is the best you can get. It's an original one, too.
Yeah, in fact, that is an original color. This is the apple red that came from the factory, not a repaint.
Sliding rear window and some rails added to the bed and a big step bumper out back to which you could add a trailer ball if needed. Very nice.
And the wheels might look like aftermarket goodies. Nope, these are factory optional. These are also seen in 1979 on something called the GMC Caballero, the 454 half-ton. And these kind of look like what later appeared on the 454 SS pickup truck. But those were steel. These are aluminum. These are the correct wheels, and pretty rare.
Yeah, it almost has a custom look coming out of the factory. So that's pretty cool for this 1987 C10 with only 57,000 miles on the odometer.
Well, that was the idea, Rick. The factory didn't want you to go buy aftermarket wheels. They wanted you to buy those optional wheels straight from the manufacturer.
Exactly. And don't forget, go to Barrett-Jackson.com. That's where you can see the full list of cars that are yet to cross the block here in Palm Beach. And of course, you can do research on cars that have already crossed the block. Barrett-Jackson.com. Up on the block, we've got a 1988 Corvette 35th Anniversary Edition.
The second one we've seen today, and keep in mind 35 years earlier was 1953 when all 300 Corvettes were done in Polo White, which is why Chevrolet revisited the Polo White right down to the wheels, which to me is a little too much white, but this is a correct treatment.
Yeah, I like what they've done. Again, the basket handle is black. That makes it look like it has an all-glass greenhouse. 35th anniversary badges on the fenders, and they were also proud of their tuned port injection. One of the earliest appearances of such.
And the C4 Corvette was really a breakthrough on many levels for General Motors and for Corvette. To read all about the backstory, there's a book called Corvette from the Inside by Dave McClellan. Describes his task as the chief of engineering to bring this car to life. And that Targa bar that we see across the top of that is absolutely part of this car's structure. Now here's the thing, this roof panel is removable, but there are Torx fasteners all the way around. This is actually part of the car's structure. You take that away, it creaks and rattles a lot more. So that's absolutely part of the structural integrity, but it allows you the beauty of the Targa bar.
Well, only 1,500 miles, just a little over that, on this 1988 Corvette 35th anniversary, $30,000. We're going to check in with April Rose.
Hey, Rick, just check out this 1968 Eldorado. This is the top of the line luxury for Cadillac. Beautiful design. Just soak up this razor sharp edge on the rear. Beautiful tail lights. They're like blades jetting out. Just great angles all over. Now, it's got the new at the time 472 V8 hideaway headlights, which were only used in 67 and 68. And it came with a vinyl or a hardtop, which I like this hardtop look. It's definitely a lot different showing like this. And it's finished in a topaz gold fire mist metallic, which is basically repeating the same color over and over again. But hey, it's an Eldorado, so you can do whatever you want, right, DeBrule?
That was a cool car in its day. What a massive beast for only being two doors. Love the color, love everything about it, April. All right, cool car up on the block right now. This is a 1989 Mustang, but it's got a cool wrap on it.
Yeah, it was born a burgundy car, and it looks like it's got a lot of racetrack road rash. Well, none of that is smudge. That is a wrap. It was designed and printed like that to make this look as if it had just run the 24 Hours of Le Mans.
On the door, it says Wile E. Coyote. Aha! It's got a Coyote 5-liter dual overhead cam conversion, and yeah, it bolts in, believe it or not. I like this. This thing's kind of cool. Kind of a sleeper minus the wrap. This is a mean little car. Probably a 10-second racer, no problem.
According to the consignor, that is capable of 800 horsepower underneath that hood, thanks to that supercharger. Little hatchback. Away it goes for $21,500. Not bad for a little sleeper car. All right, a 1990 Jaguar XJS up on the block.
Well, this was the Executive Express for those of you that wanted a two-seat luxury sports car and didn't want to buy one of the 347 Mercedes SLs that have crossed the block today. These, of course, all automatic transmission, and this one showing only 11,000 miles.
Yeah, this is a cool car, V12 power. Now, the thing with these, the radiators are critical. Keep it cool. The engine will last a long time. The radiator gets gummed up, starts to overheat. That head's going to blow gaskets. But here's the thing. These are also available as a fastback with 2 gas tanks or 2 fillers. Well, Ragtops have the filler here on the quarter panel, only on this side. But again, if this is a hard top, there'd be one of these on each side. Little details add up.
Why 12 cylinders? Because a V12 is inherently smoother than a V8, a V10, a 6, or a 4.
And there are those who absolutely love these cars. They were cruisers. Yeah, they didn't have the wide following, and they don't have the legs. People don't love them as much today. But I had a buddy of mine who owned one of these, and this was his favorite car. He went through several of these.
Now today, with gas prices reaching ouch per gallon, the V12 engine has fallen out of favor. Well, kind of so have the V10s and the V8s, let's say.
Yeah, that's how we say EcoBoost 4-cylinder.
I like the dual exhaust treatment on this. This is absolutely correct. The stainless tips with the little flute ends, correct stuff.
$20,000 for a 1990 Jaguar XJS convertible. A little while ago, Tyler Hoover previewed a 1971 Dodge Charger Custom Coupe, and it's time for that little Charger to roll up on the block.
Yeah, this is a third generation Charger, the 66 and 7 Fastback, the Coke bottles of 68 through 70, and then 71, the fuselage body. This was born a G code, 318 two-barrel, the base V8, but that was then. Now it's got the 5.7 Hemi, which has its roots in the 318 engine family in some ways, bore centers, but otherwise is certainly a Hemi. There's no doubt about it. It's got double rockers, cross-bullet mains. It's a Hemi.
All I need to know about this, Steve, is something Richard Petty once told me. We were standing in his museum and looking around at all of his cars, and he pointed to one of these, and he said, of all the cars I raced, he said, this was my favorite body style.
Yeah, that would have been around the time that he partnered with STP and got a little bit of orange in the Petty Blue mix, 71 thereabouts. But yeah, a great car. I prefer these as Super Bs or RTs with big fat wheels and tires. But a lot of these were sold just as general 318 commuter cars. But that was then for this one. I like what they've done.
There are not many cars that wear a vinyl top well, especially one the same color as the body paint. But this body shape does it. That roof looks just right there.
The rear axle is the 8 3/4, which was standard in the 318 and also in the 446 pack automatic, the Hemi automatic. So the axle can stay put from the 318 to this Hemi, and it's totally bulletproof. The only thing you might want to do is trade out the open differential for a Sure Grip or have one made. But it's nice to know that the rear axle is ready to go. I'm not going to break it with that Hemi. This one has the flat hood, which is seen on basic Chargers. The Charger RT and Super B could have the Ram Charger hood with an opening door here. I would like to see that have been done here, but that's okay.
I'll tell you what, solid money, $35,000 means it is now tied at number 2 on the day here on Friday. Tied with that 1966 Ford Thunderbird that crossed the block much earlier in the day. And, of course, it only trails our charity car from 2020, a Ford Shelby GT500. Coming up in just a bit, you like those Toyota FJs? We got a really cool one coming up. It's an FJ43 Land Cruiser. We'll see it very soon. Check it out on social media. That's a beautiful day here in South Florida. That is the South Florida Fairgrounds you see right there. And all those tents, well, they're covering up some pretty impressive machinery that'll be crossing the block over the course of the next 3 days here at Barrett-Jackson Palm Beach. Inside right now, we've got a 1970 Chevy Impala convertible that is crossing the block. Big 454, 345 horsepower.
Beautiful car. The paint looks new. The bodywork is laser straight. The interior looks new, and the white convertible top is new. This is a stunner.
It is. Now, no more Super Sport Impalas after 69, but this one has the 454 big block, which was absolutely optional and correct.
And $35,000, meaning that is now tied as the number 3 seller of the day. And while we were away, we saw a Volkswagen from 1963 cross the block and sell for $38,000, which means that is now the number 2 sale of the day behind our top-selling charity car. Up there right now, 1994 Camaro Z28. This is an RSSS.
1994, the Corvette wasn't Chevy's only car with a plastic body. These have plastic doors, plastic fenders, and plastic deck lids. The hood and the unibody are steel, but again, plastic on these, a lot of them to lose weight. And again, this is a Z28, which is to say 275 horsepower from an LT1. Plenty potent car. It's an automatic.
Yeah, automatic transmission car. It's described as an RSSS, but I don't see any badging or any other indication of what those options might have been back then in the second year of this styling cycle that began in 1993. Very sharp directional wheels, and they call out on the small hubcaps on these alloy wheels the 4-wheel disc brakes this was born with. So this was born to be a corner carver. And again, I sense a bargain here, Steve.
Yeah, this is a clean example, really, at 10 grand. Wow, we're going to see this in Scottsdale at 2 to 3 times this money. Mark my words.
Yeah, you look at it, 275 horsepower, and again, for that era, that was pretty strong for a Z28 to be able to put that onto the ground.
Something interesting really is dual exhaust systems in the late 70s into the 80s were hidden and not really to be called attention to because they made smoke. Well, by this point in time, Chevrolet came out with these really cool aluminum rectangular tips. That's factory stuff on both sides of the car. No longer afraid to show dual exhaust and horsepower.
That's a bargain, Rick. This car only has 40,000 miles on it.
Well, there you go, $12,500. I think that is a screaming deal. Let's check in with Tyler Hoover.
Well, if you want a magazine cover car that'll get a lot of attention, this is it right here, Lot 102, a 2005 Chevrolet Colorado, and this thing has been radically customized. It still has the stock 5-cylinder and automatic under the hood, but it was a crew cab pickup truck, and you can see they completely chopped the roof off of it. Still 4 doors, but you can see that wild interior, 4 subwoofers, I think, and then a stereo on the dash. Everything totally custom. This was a show car featured in many magazines and other shows across the country for years, but they definitely wanted to show off what they could do. A lot of the air ride systems in trucks are covered up by a bed, but they didn't want to do it here to see the beautiful welds in the system here that can lower this truck to the ground. I have never seen a Colorado done up to this level. It is absolutely incredible, a great tribute to the mini trucks of the 80s and 90s.
Yeah, I love what they've done with the glass on that. A lot of work went into making that look just right. A little while ago, we previewed this car that's up on the block right now. In beautiful purple, a 1995 Pontiac Firebird SLP Firehawk.
Well, to become a Firehawk, they would send this car to SLP, Street Legal Performance, and they would make the necessary performance modifications. Wow, that's a unique color.
Now, we pointed something out on that Z28 a moment ago as a dual exhaust. Well, the SLP Firehawk has single exhaust. Well, not so fast. They're twin outlets on a high-flow 3-inch diameter single pipe. Keep in mind, these things have a single catalytic converter. And again, on the Z, those dual pipes branched out from a single. So Ed Hamburger's SLP stuck to the true intention of the single exhaust. But there you have it, high-flow single pipe.
I don't have the name of the color, but it's one of only 41 painted this shade that year.
And only 12,000 miles on the odometer, so for $26,000, it's a pretty special car. That 1995 Pontiac Firebird Firehawk. All right, pretty cool behind it. From 1963, a Ford Falcon Sprint with some extra goodies attached.
Boy, this looks like a lot like the car that Jim Taylor raced in the early years of the SCCA Trans Am. A little Falcon Sprint 2-door hardtop. Of course, this one's been treated to a big cowl induction hood and lots of other modifications.
Yeah, the Sprint was kind of like the Super Sport Nova. Of course, in this world, it meant the 260 V8, which has been upgraded in this case, I believe, to a 302 or 289. 4-speed transmission, drum brakes all the way around, and these 15-inch Magnum 500 type wheels would not have been factory until you get into 1969-70, but they look great on this car.
Again, in the pre-Mustang days, Ford sent these to run the Monte Carlo Rally, and they were very successful in saloon or sedan racing in England.
You know, it's interesting. This was a compact car in its day, right? What we don't realize is, and the Mustang was built off this chassis, this is actually larger than the Mustang. They had to shrink everything down to get the Mustang sizing just right.
This is a radio delete car, which is kind of nice. Radios were not standard. You paid a little extra for them.
All about performance on this 2-door hardtop, which shared a lot of styling cues, particularly the tail lights, with the larger Fords of the day.
And speaking of that radio delete plate, we can see inside that beautiful dash that chrome strip that's horizontal with a little kick up there. That's where the radio would have gone if, about 40 or 50 bucks was paid for the AM radio. Less can be more.
Well, in this case, it's more to the tune of $28,000. Pretty impressive money for a 63 Ford Falcon that's been customized in a very big way. And that gentleman right there is going to get to drive it away and take it home. All right, look at this, a 67 Eldorado Coupe. Big beast of a car.
First year for GM's front-wheel drive Executive Express. Caddy Eldorado, Olds Toronado, and then, of course, the rear-drive Buick Riviera. That was the top of the heap at General Motors.
Well, another hour is in the books here in the Sunshine State, but fear not, we still have 2 more hours of live coverage from Car Paradise just headed your way. We are cruising along here on Thursday at Barrett-Jackson in Palm Beach. Up on the block right now, we've got a 1967 Cadillac Eldorado, 429 cubic inch V8 under the hood, 425 turbo automatic transmission.
Well, that's right. 66 is the year that Oldsmobile debuted the Toronado, the E-body platform, followed by Cadillac in 67 with the Eldorado. And yes, there's a big 429 V8 here driving the front tires. Believe it or not, this huge hood here was actually designed to fit a V12 or maybe even a V16 engine, which made it as far as prototypes, and they actually had running engines, but they decided at the last minute to make it a V8 only. But again, what a beautiful, huge American car.
One of the biggest selling points of the Eldorado, aside from those huge fins, I mean, you couldn't mistake this for anything else, was inside, because both the front and back seats feature a completely flat floor. There is no hump in the center of the floor because there is no drive shaft. So on this car, with the split bench seat, you could seat 3 across in comfort, something you could not do in hardly any other American car.
And this hood is such a massive 6-foot-long stamping, and it's actually 2 pieces. There's a center seam right down the middle, which is hidden by the chrome strip running down the front. So again, that's not a one-piece stamping, as most hood skins are, just too darn big.
Well, too darn big, but a great price, $16,500 for that 1967 Cadillac Eldorado. First year for this generation, gleaming in that flamenco red paint, black leather interior, and away it goes. All right, so you feel sad that you missed out on that one? We got another one for you. This one's from 1968, another Cadillac Eldorado.
One small detail that differs this from the 67 is the engine. That hit the 429. This has the 472, a second and different generation of the Cadillac V8.
My dad had a 69. He bought it as a treat to himself for being named a company vice president and named to the board of directors, and thought he should have an executive express to suit. So his was gold, just like this one, but with a black vinyl top and black interior. I was the one who shed a tear because of what he traded in to buy it, his 65 GTO. Oh well, but boy, these were wonderful, wonderful cars, and they just chewed up the miles on long-distance trips.
You gotta think what a statement this must have been. If you lived in Italy or France during 1965, 6, 7, 8, 9, what were the Americans thinking with this conspicuous consumption? Whatever. These are beautiful cars, and I'm so glad they're no longer demo derby queens, and this is respectable money. And again, what a color. Eldorado, gold, right car, right color.
The styling holds up today. I could see a version of this in a new car showroom in 2023. This was just a fantastic design. Well done.
At Bill Mitchell Styling Studio at the height of its powers.
Yeah, they made almost 25,000 of these. This is just one of them, and for $32,000, laying squarely in our top 10. And congratulations to the folks up in the skybox. Let's head out to the McGuire staging lanes and Tyler Hoover.
It's April Rose, not Tyler Hoover. Sorry about that. Now, I'm having a great time because I'm absolutely madly in love with these Hummer H1s. This one's a 1991, just beautiful, beautiful truck. Now, you can get it in a wagon, slant back, hardtop, 2- and 4-seat pickups. This is the 4-seat pickup. Now, civilian production started in 92, so this is a military truck. You could get the 5.7-liter gas as an option, or this, the 6.2 diesel 3L80 automatic. And a cool feature most Hummers have is that central tire inflation system where you can lower the tire pressure for off-road or increase it. Now, this one's beautifully finished in a custom satin gray, removable soft top, soft doors. By far my favorite of the Hummers are these H1s right here, DeBrule.
I can absolutely see why. Big beast of a truck. It'll be up on here on the block very soon. Meanwhile, something much newer, a 2022 Ford Bronco. This is a Big Bend edition.
Well, here they are. The Broncos, whether they're vintage or new, are red hot here on the block. And this one is the 4-door version. These have an aluminum skin for the most part. The quarter panels are steel, but everything else is aluminum. And just what a beautiful monster this is. Great styling.
And we're already getting solid money. These are hard to come by in the retail market right now. We're over $50,000.
Oh, you can't buy one at your Ford dealer. You can't even hardly order one. The order bank is backed up that full. Remember, in Scottsdale, Henry Ford III told us on air he was still waiting for his Bronco. So I don't feel so bad, but we're going to see a lot of these here at Barrett-Jackson this weekend as they come into the secondary market. High demand.
$52,000. That kid up there is thrilled. I think he's going to lose it up there. Congratulations, $52,000. All right, this is something very interesting. It's a 1968 Corvette, but it's a custom. Look at that flying brake look in the back. It's got a station wagon style to it.
Well, I can't say for sure if this one went under the surgery knife, but what often happens, instead of buying expensive stock components, you will take your Corvette and customize it should it need work. Those pop-up headlights, they're expensive and they're complex, so they're gone, replaced by lights under the grille, big cowl induction hood, and more.
Indeed, this is an Eckler's conversion, but under the hood, I love this. It's a 572 GM crate engine. It's a tall deck, big block, and it got, in other words, the intake manifold's wider than on a 427 or 502. It's the real deal. And you gotta love this. Popular Hot Rodding magazine did a little feature on this type of vehicle right here back in the mid-70s. Eckler's was a Corvette and is a Corvette supply house, and they sold a kit to convert your coupe or roadster into a wagon. There it is, camback.
Big, wide, blistered IMSA-style flares. The one thing that keeps this from being a shooting brake style of vehicle is that this back window does not open. You have to load this from behind the front seats.
Yeah, one of the beautiful things about the Corvette's fiberglass construction is that there's no welding or anything like that involved. It's basically just cold chemical work, as it were, with fiberglass matting and chemicals you mix up. You can customize these things without any need for torches or again, welding. And they're a blank canvas for people to customize on, like we see here.
Sure. Why go mild when you can go wild like this one?
Well, just remember, the original Nomad, basically a Corvette station wagon. $20,000 for that 1968 Eckler Sport Wagon built Corvette. Definitely be the only one on your block. All right, a little while ago, Tyler Hoover previewed this truck, and now it's up on the block, a 2005 Chevy Colorado Custom.
Well, it's been decapitated, literally and otherwise. It has an inline 5. What? Yes, the Vortec 3500 was a 5-cylinder inline engine. And again, a pretty state-of-the-art engine. Twin overhead cams, 4 valves, pretty cool piece. Cylinder deactivation, or excuse me, a cam phasing on this puppy, but cool engine. Bone stock, but the roof is weird. I like how there's sort of been an angular cut given to the A, B, and C pillars. Kind of neat.
Well, it's kind of neat, but it's kind of weird, Steve. I mean, now you do have seats here, and this is locked, but the door will open, and there are seats either side of that big speaker stack. But back here in the bed, as Tyler showed us, there is all kinds of suspension engineering going on, but no room for load carrying of any type.
It's sort of a mixture of art and engineering and transportation all in one. I like this.
Now, what would you do with this in Western Massachusetts?
Drive it in July, and that'd be about it. Park it the rest of the year.
In between mud season and fall foliage, right?
Yeah, when you get right down to it, this is all about show. I mean, this is just going out and having fun. This is a great car to bring to a car show. And I tell you what, at $23,000, you're going to win a potential car show with this thing.
Oh, I appreciate the engineering that's gone into this, and even kind of what they were aiming at, but I just can't find a practical purpose here, and maybe I should just stop looking.
Yeah, I just need a little deck lid, Carson top, and you're off to the races. $23,000. I'll write the number on the sold sticker, and away it goes, and away we're going to go as well. Take a quick break from our Barrett-Jackson collector car auction here in Palm Beach.
At every auction, we love dropping in on our friends at Toyota to hear about the latest and greatest. Ali, what is news with the Tundra?
Well, there's a lot happening when it comes to the Tundra. As far as the tailgate goes, this is pretty neat. If you actually walk to the back corner, there is a little button. You can touch that with your elbow, and that will actually just knock down that lift gate right there.
And again, some of the practical things I noticed when I opened the door, lights go on in the tailgate as well.
Yes, that's right. You have LED lights pretty much surrounding, and you probably noticed those back ones.
Very good.
Before we would say there's a Toyota for everyone. Now there literally is a Tundra for everyone.
Ali, another great visit with Toyota, and lots of great things happening with Toyota.
And we have a Toyota up on the block right now, a 1977 Toyota FJ 43 Land Cruiser.
Well, this one's very pure, not modified, no LS engine under the hood, has the 4-liter 6-cylinder inline engine, little skinny wheels and tires, very pure, I like it.
And all original, says the consignor, that it has been maintained but not restored. Yeah, pretty original truck. A little bit of patina here, you know, rust on the springs, things that you would expect to see from a vehicle that's been used, but well kept.
I like to say that you either own your vehicle or your vehicle owns you. Well, you can own this and not worry about getting it scruffy, because it always kind of is, but it's very solid. And solid and scruffy are two different things.
First one of these Land Cruisers we've seen today at the auction. In the last 4 or 5 years, these have really come into their own and developed a huge following within the collector car hobby.
Now, as with all four-wheel drive vehicles like this, of this vintage, the middle hub in the front wheel is large, protruding. That's four-wheel drive stuff, but you won't see a knob on that. This is not a manual locker. This has an automatic locker inside. That's the good news. No need to get out and get dirty or muddy if you're stuck in a rut. Just hit the button and you'll get four-wheel drive.
Well, they hammered it, but apparently they've still got action going here. $24,000 the current bid. Yep, now the hammer's down for the final time. Congratulations to those folks right there for that 1977 Toyota FJ43 Land Cruiser. Where's James Bond when we need him? Because up on the block right now, we got a 2006 Aston Martin DB9. This is a Volante convertible.
I love the DB9. However, looking at the vehicle history report of this one, it reports minor damage to the left front and the rear in 2 separate minor collisions. A little bit of, oh, I see. That is a film on the inside of the windshield that there's a little bit of delamination here. But, you know, they had a lot of attractive color schemes, but I'm not sure Raven Black with two-tone black and tan was one of the best.
Like the speedometer goes to 220, not kilometers, but miles per hour. And with the V12 in this puppy, I bet you get pretty close to 200 on the right closed course.
DB9 is the model of car. DB stands for David Brown, the longtime head of Aston Martin, back in their heyday. Paddle shift transmission behind that V12. And let's see that speedometer. Ooh, 73,000 miles.
Four-wheel disc brakes on this, of course, Aston Martin stuff, not made by Brembo or anybody like that. Of course, Aston Martin has its own engineering department, and the engine is also an Aston Martin designed and built engine, not farmed out to anybody else.
The design, the result of 2 guys working together, Ian Callum, a legend in the Aston Martin world, along with Henrik Fisker, who, of course, has gone on to build cars in his own name. But, you know, the coupe version of this, truly one of the most beautiful cars ever built.
For a while, Aston Martin was part of the Ford Premier Vehicle Group, shared its key fobs with the Ford Focus, things like that, but that didn't last very long.
And we see some semblance, some resemblance in the Ford line with the grille that they've managed to hang on to, which is similar to the Aston Martin.
The Ford Fusion borrowed heavily from the Aston Martin styling in those days.
The catfish pout. It's a beautiful look. I love it, no matter what it's on. And as you mentioned, Rick, it does say minor damage left front, hit a fence, but airbags did not employ or deploy. So that's a good news, because the amount of force required to deploy the airbags generally involves some frame bending, but if the airbag doesn't go off, it probably means a very light cosmetic impact. That's the hope.
Well, away it goes, $32,000 for a 2006 Aston Martin DB9 Volante convertible, 449 horsepower out of that 5.9-liter 12-cylinder motor. We'll take a break. Back here in Palm Beach, the Barrett-Jackson Collector Car Auction, day one of our 3 days of coverage. Midway through all our 5 hours here on FYI, and up on the block now, a 2001 Ford Mustang. It's a Bullitt edition.
Well, Bullitt was the name of the detective played by Steve McQueen in the movie of the same name. He drove a Highland Green Ford Mustang, so Ford capitalized and created the Bullitt Special Edition in, of course, Highland Green.
More than just emblems and color, these actually have lowered suspension and, believe it or not, factory frame connectors to stiffen the unit construction. Usually that's something you buy from the Ford Racing catalog and put on yourself, but nope, they're factory installed on Bullitts. That's just a couple of the many things that make these unique.
What's also unique is the odometer. There are no miles on this car.
Less than 3,000 miles from brand new, so essentially been put away. Now there it goes, $30,000, ties it as number 10. I think we've had a number of vehicles sell for $30,000. They're tied to that spot. Now for somebody else to squeeze in and break that tie. 1990 Chevy K5 Blazer, the first of the Blazers that we're going to see cross the block here in Palm Beach.
Funny thing is, around 1988, the Chevy square body pickup gave way to the more streamlined. Well, the Blazer continued for another couple of years, squared off like this. Kind of a rare instance where two families were sold at the same time for a couple of years side by side. But again, this is lightly modified with the 5.7 350 motor, jacked up suspension, bigger wheels and tires, but otherwise largely stock looking.
Yeah, this has been given, they call it a 2-inch suspension lift. But with those huge wheels and tires, it looks more like a 5-inch lift. It gets the bumper pretty well up and off the ground. What that does for the ride quality, I'd prefer not to experience.
Of course, by this time, the manual locking hubs were a thing of the past. You won't find any more of that keyway stuff on the front hubs here, so no need to get out and get under in the mud. These have an internal engager for four-wheel drive.
These Blazers were great little sport utility vehicles. However, their short wheelbase gave them a really choppy ride on rough roads compared to, say, a Suburban or a Chevy pickup.
This is fuel injected. You can see on the back here under the tailgate says Blazer fuel injection, and that might imply high performance, but no, that was actually a fuel economy and emissions move that came along in the mid-'80s, you know, and it certainly was better than a carburetor, but good to see it here. It's bone stock, and that's cool.
$29,000 for that 1990 Chevy K5 Blazer, and we're going to check in with Tyler Hoover.
Well, Lot 120 is something really cool for me to see. A humble Jeep from my past getting sort of a mild resto mod treatment here. This is a 2000 with only 60,000-ish original miles, and they did a few custom touches to this one, like taking the plastic trim all around the car and the bumpers and the side and coating it with Kevlar for extra impact protection. Of course, they lifted it, put off-road tires, and really cleaned this thing up. Now, I used to have several of these, but the last one was one I saved from going to the junkyard. It had 360,000 miles on it, and I actually just needed a starter and an idle air control valve, and it was off on the road. I drove it to Colorado, went off-roading, and we blew a head gasket, unfortunately. So that required me taking the engine, well, mostly apart, but it was very easy on these things, and put it back together, and it's still running to this day. I don't own it. I wish I did, but these are starting to come up and getting really appreciated. A humble little XJ Cherokee known for its off-road prowess. I think you'll be really surprised when this thing crosses the block.
And you can learn how to change a head gasket on it. Hopefully not in the middle of nowhere, though. Up in the block now, this is a beast that April Rose previewed for us, a 1991 Hummer H1.
This one does have the 6.2-liter diesel engine, a lot of custom touches, but keep in mind these are lighter than they look. Plastic clamshell hood, aluminum body, and really functional. The windshield does tilt down. Here are the hinges, so kind of a cool do-anything off-roader that can be driven on-road too.
Now these have an extremely wide center tunnel. Otherwise, you could probably sit 5 across in one of these. They are that big.
Check out that rear suspension, the usual differential hanging down the middle to bang on rocks and stuff. Not there. That's because it's all mounted up top, like you said, Mike, in that tunnel. And we have portal drives right there that take the drive up top, run it down to the center of the wheel. So it's all about ground clearance, and there's lots of it.
Yeah, initially it was all about what they could do for the military, and then they created a civilian version for folks to take off-road and have fun with. Congratulations to the gentleman in the Skyblocks. I think he's just getting a hug from his son. $40,000. Rolling up behind it, a 2008 Mercedes-Benz. This one is a CLS 63 AMG.
Boy, when these came out, when this styling came out, this was a game changer for Mercedes. They sold this as a coupe. As you can see, it is a four-door sedan, but applying this coupe body style to four doors was a real game changer. And we had one, I think it was the equal of the S-Class. It just wasn't quite as long and as wide.
I remember in Los Angeles, I was living out there at the time, there were billboards all over the place with just a side silhouette of these things, and some folks call it the banana, but again, it was the rebirth of the rear-wheel drive on four-door platform, and what a fantastic car this is.
CLS 63, 6.3 liters, carbon fiber rear spoiler, added on the AMG front and rear bumper covers with a little bit of aero treatment to it. Yeah, that's an Executive Express right there.
Love the treatment of the exhaust system, quad tips, stainless steel ovals, not hiding the dual exhaust on this in any way, bragging loudly and clearly this thing has power to back up its looks. Nothing wrong with that. And again, with the emission controls on this thing, it's not really that dirty at all.
It's a fully functional four-door sedan, though. I mean, plenty of trunk space for the family here. And then, that pops up. There you go. And these do actually have a usable spare tire. And see, what's that plastic for? Well, that's to wrap the dirty tire in that you take off.
Away it goes, $42,000 for that 2008 Mercedes-Benz CLS. Now it's time to sell a car for a great cause.
Folks, another one of these great Barrett-Jackson moments. We're so proud of our partners with GM. They did something very, very special for us here on Thursday at Palm Beach. They got some other incredible things later in the week, but here's an opportunity for those of you that want to buy something that you can't get anywhere else but here and help this amazing, incredible cause, Craig. We have Brandon Vivian, Executive Chief Engineer, and also Joy Lancaster from the SAE Foundation Corporate Development Officer. Going to tell you why this car is so cool and why this cause is even more incredible.
Brandon, please. Oh, sorry, it's not on. It should be on now.
Okay, thank you. Well, first off, I'd like to thank Craig Jackson, Steve Davis, and the whole Barrett-Jackson family for having us here for this worthy cause and being part of this auction. And what we have to auction off here is a very, very special CT5 V-Series Blackwing Special Edition. This special edition celebrates the 120th anniversary of Cadillac. So we're going to auction off here the most powerful Cadillac ever produced. These vehicles are very, very specially created and crafted at our Lansing Grand River assembly facility. They will have a serialized VIN. They will have a very specific sill plate with the year of the production of the vehicle. So we will celebrate 120 years of Cadillac starting with 1902. There's also some other details with a unique shifter medallion if you order a manual transmission. And for the cause here, we'll turn it over to Joy.
Thank you. On behalf of the SAE Foundation, we are truly grateful to Craig Jackson, Steve Davis, General Motors, and Barrett-Jackson for this remarkable opportunity to bring life-changing STEM education to more students, many who otherwise would not have access. Your support for the SAE Foundation helps reinvent pre-K to college STEM education breaking down barriers to increase access for all students, and providing professional development, materials, and resources for teachers and volunteers. Our mission is to spark curiosity, to nourish minds, to awaken dreams that ignite STEM potential. Through the generosity of corporate partners and individuals like you, we have served over 6 million students around the world and engaged over 30,000 industry volunteers. Thank you. This proven formula of hands-on STEM learning combined with mentorship, our programs deliver measurable impact. The proven formula prepares students for success in future education, careers, and life. With a focus on developing STEM fluency and career readiness, SAE STEM programs build stronger communities. Together, we can inspire the next generation of innovators and fuel the workforce pipeline. Thank you.
And it is a very special car. After we sold VIN 1 in Scottsdale, I ordered one. Brandon helped deliver it to me. They're awesome cars, getting a hand-built, one-off, manual transmission, if you choose it that way, with a Z06, basically, engine that you hopped up even to better horsepower than the original LT4. These are truly incredible automobiles, and to have the first one, the availability, and this is an end of the era.
Yeah, this car is the second in the line of collector series, and as you mentioned, we did the first one, and thank you for supporting that when we auctioned that off. But these vehicles, the collector series, represents for the discerning individuals storytelling, exclusivity, and craftsmanship, and so very excited to offer this vehicle.
All right, let's sell it.
All right, here we go. All right, here to get out.
Now, when they reference STEM, that refers to science, technology, engineering, and math, an acronym for what kids should be hopefully learning in school. Good stuff. I was an English major. I wasn't so great at math, but I get it. It takes a world of all of that stuff to engineer and create the cars we have on block right now.
But what a fantastic car to come out of Cadillac Engineering and to know that this is probably the last of its breed as electrification descends on the automobile industry. Cars like this will not be designed in the future, nor built.
And it's interesting when you look at the history of what we've seen, even today here at Barrett-Jackson. Earlier we saw those late 60s Eldorados, and they were not really designed performance. Yeah, they had some high horsepower, but they were purely luxury cars. What I've loved over the years is how Cadillac has converted and moved towards performance and luxury at the same time.
Yeah, the V models, indeed, Velocity, whatever you want to call it, but the V cars of the last 15 years or so transformed Cadillac into true BMW killers.
$200,000 bid.
What's cool about this is you're not getting VIN 001. What you're getting is the VIN that ends in 1902, as in 1902, the year that Cadillac was formed.
The car on the block is a placeholder. This one happens to be a 6-speed manual with a clutch pedal, kind of a dying breed. And yes, the winner of the car, the ultimate vehicle, can choose between a clutch pedal or the paddle shifters. I'll go for the clutch myself.
$250,000. That's the bid, the winning bid for a 2023 Cadillac CT5 Blackwing. The very first one of the collector's edition. It'll roll off the block. We'll take a break and come back. Palm Beach, beautiful beaches, beautiful ocean, beautiful cars. What a day to be here. It's great outside, great inside as well. We've got a 1976 Toyota Land Cruiser FJ40 up on the block right now.
Well, this is the third FJ that we've had. Another one just rolled across the block. This one has been fully restored. It's been given a lift kit, has a snorkel, brand new Smitty built winch, doesn't even have the plastic off it, brand new tires. So a lot of this is brand new. In fact, there's not much left that's old, Steve.
Indeed, yeah, I like that it has a get out of jail free kit right here on the cowl. In other words, if you get stuck, you can lift it right up. God, a good 5 feet, 4 feet right there, get it out of the hole, off the rock, whatever. And again, the lift kit does entail simplicity. This is a live axle vehicle, so spacers between the springs and the axles bring it up into the sky, as do shackles, those silver long shackles right there, increase ride height.
You have your choice of a side opening door or this kind of combination here, which the top half of the liftgate comes up, and then there's barn doors here either side with the fold up facing rear seats. Functional, not terribly comfortable.
It does have the fording kit by Safari Snorkels. This puppy right here on the driver's side A-pillar. This device right here, if you get into water, well, this is where the engine breathes rather than down there. So technically, theoretically, you can get in some water and not wet out and get stuck.
$42,000 for that FJ40 means it is now tied as the number 4 sale of the day here on the first day of Barrett-Jackson Collector Car Auction in Palm Beach. All right, you want some American Iron to follow that up? How about a 1955 Chevy Bel Air Coupe?
Oh, this is where the Chevrolet performance legacy began. In 1954 and before, well, Chevrolet was regarded as kind of a librarian's car, nothing major. The Ford Flathead V8 was what there was, man, for hot rodding, or the Hemi, the olds, but the 265 Chevy V8 seen here really changed everything for Chevrolet.
265, then it became 283, 327, and eventually 350. I love these General Motors two-tones of the 50s. Gypsy red and India ivory with a two-tone interior to match.
One thing we don't want to forget, this is not Chevrolet's first V8. In 1917, Chevrolet had a 281 cubic inch overhead valve pushrod V8 made for about 2 years. It was an expensive engine, but again, not Chevy's first V8 right here. Google it, 1917 Chevy V8. It's a cool engine, very advanced for its time.
One of the biggest developments for the Chevy small block V8 was that the rockers that operated the valves were not mounted to a shaft. They were on individual pedestals, which gave the engineers more freedom in shaping the combustion chambers.
That's right, Pontiac piggybacked on that engineering. The Pontiac V8, which arrived in 55, shared that. But yeah, pedestal-mounted rocker arms, indeed.
$40,000 for 1955 Chevy Bel Air, and with that, we are going to head out to the McGuire staging lanes and see what April Rose has found for us.
Oh, baby, just check this out. 1964 Nova 2 custom gasser. Now, a lot of people throw flames on a ride, but this is how it's done. This is how you're supposed to be rocking these flames. Absolutely the coolest car here. It's got a GM 502 crate engine with high-rise intake, dual carburetor, turbo 400 automatic, Curry-built 9-inch rear end, custom exhaust, gasser style front end. I mean, this is so much fun to drive. I love those green tinted windows too. Now, I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. Here's what you really wanna watch. How excited Steve Maggs gets when it rolls across the block. He grew up building these, racing these. He's like a kid in a candy store. You're not gonna wanna miss it, DeBrule.
Yeah, the car will be almost as much fun as watching Steve watch it roll across the block. Gang Green. Gotta love that name. We're gonna take a break here in Palm Beach and come back to more Barrett-Jackson Auction. Oh, they're still lining up outside. That's because we have plenty of cars left across the block here at Barrett-Jackson. Some new stuff, some old stuff, some even older stuff that'll be crossing the block very soon. And up on the block right now, we have a 1989 Toyota Land Cruiser. This is an FJ62.
Yeah, no LS conversions happening here. It's the original 4-liter inline 6. And, you know, I used to see these occasionally on the roads in Massachusetts as a kid, but not very frequently. And I got to say, maybe we've seen 5 or 6 here at the Barrett-Jackson in the last 5 years. Pretty uncommon vehicle.
Well, it kind of takes off after the Range Rover style of vehicle, where you have a slightly lifted SUV-type machine with what looks very much like a pedestrian station wagon body. 2-row seating here, plenty of room for storage way in the back. So certainly a family hauler, and arguably the biggest vehicle that Toyota offered for sale in the U.S.
Yeah, this would have gone up against the Jeep Grand Wagoneer with yuppies and ski families back in the 80s in New England. And yeah, these are very capable off-road vehicles. Not a whole bunch of power with that 4-liter 6, but certainly enough to get it down the road. This one's kind of weird. It's a 4-speed manual, not an automatic. Or excuse me, no, it's misdescribed. That's an automatic. Okay, so a stick in one of these would be pretty bizarre, but this is pretty typical. Nice example, clean.
Chromed styled steel wheels. Big 2-inch receiver draw-tight hitch. Ready to go, ready to haul.
Yeah, sometimes the consignor's descriptions, things get lost in translation. It says here 4-speed manual, and well, no, that's an automatic, but that's okay. You'll figure it out when you buy it.
Yeah, the FJ40 was king of the road for a long time, and then they brought it to an end, I think in about 1980 or so, and along came the 60 series. This is an FJ62, and I think this is the last year of the 60 series, the FJ62.
I like the liftgate style tail here. This comes up, that comes down. The wiper on the back with the electric defrost for wintertime clarity and safe driving.
Well, 175,000 miles on the clock, but this one still has miles to go before it sleeps.
$24,500, not a bad price for a 1989 Toyota, but of course this one's a Land Cruiser, and that always brings a premium. Very impressive. You know, before they sell the cars here at Barrett-Jackson each day, they sell what we call automobilia. Check out some of the things that sold this morning, like this Michelin sign. Yeah, it sold for $2,300. Very cool. You like gas pumps? This Texaco late 50s, early 60s pump sold for $14,500. But a big sale of the day, look at this. Sunoco. From late 40s, early 50s, $33,000. I always love when it says blue Sunoco on it, not just Sunoco. Once again, the automobilia bringing big money these days, and I have no doubt over the course of the next couple days we'll see even more exciting stuff across the block. A 2000 Jeep Cherokee Sport up on the block. This is the one that Tyler Hoover previewed for us a little while ago and told a story about having to change out the head gasket.
You know, these had a long and very useful life in the showroom. They originally came in both 2-door and 4-door versions. This one with a slight lift and with alloy wheels and seating for 5. These were rugged, these were haulers, they were family vehicles, they were off-roaders, kind of a do-it-everything car.
I remember checking these out at my local Jeep dealer in Ware, Mass, Motors, and looking at the 4-liter pushrod 6-cylinder engine, which has its roots in the 199 AMC 6 of 1964-65. But again, a durable engine, and the 4-liter on the tail tells the story.
The functional lift gate with the donut spare up there on the left, and seating for 5.
Wheels on this are not, well, they're not really aftermarket. They are Jeep Wrangler goodies from a more recent vehicle. I kind of like that. It keeps it in the family. It'll look cool.
$28,000 for that 2000 Jeep Cherokee Sport. Hopefully he won't have any stories like Tyler Hoover had to tell before it's all said and done. And of course, don't forget they put that Summit Racing sticker on. It says $28,000 right there. And when you walk around here at Barrett-Jackson, if the car has already been sold, it's great because it lets you know what the price of the car was when it was hammered sold. So not only get to see the car, but you get a taste as to what had happened when it crossed the block. It's very cool. Up on the block now, another cool creature, a 1980 Corvette. This one's a custom, and they're calling this a Greenwood Racing Edition.
Well, that's because John Greenwood was a very successful racer in IMSA, the 24 Hours of Daytona, took a Stars and Stripes car to the 24 Hours of Le Mans, and when you're building wide-body Corvettes to go IMSA racing, why not build a bunch for the street with the big IMSA style wing and the big wide fenders and much wider wheels and tires than any Corvette was ever born with.
Now, speaking of born with, this is a 1980. It has a 454 big block. You could not get a big block in a Corvette after 1975. But with that said, it fits right in there. No big deal. It's got an automatic transmission, side pipes, and again, this is a pretty classic upgrade. And the IMSA Corvettes race series were just some of the meanest, nastiest race cars. And I love how it grabs that brutality, but for the street.
If you want an idea of how much they widened this car, look at the stock rear bumper and then look at the grills indicating the width of those fender flares.
A lot of cheers up in the skybox. That guy is really happy. High fives all the way around. $29,000 for that Greenwood Racing Edition Corvette. Here in Palm Beach, plenty of people waiting to see cars cross the block. Just a little while ago, we saw a 2002 Camaro SS cross the block. Sold for $49,500, but what made it so special, it had just 103 miles on the odometer. That happened while we were in a commercial break. Meanwhile, we got a 1963 Ford Falcon two-door Sprint up on the block.
We saw one of these a little bit earlier. This one's a little more pure. It's a 260 V8. And the Sprint basically was a sporty package like a Nova Super Sport. Sprint included bucket seats. You can see those inside. A center console, but check it out. The shifter's up on the column. It's an automatic, but again, the center console and buckets were pretty exotic stuff in 1962-63.
Now look carefully at this little Ford Falcon two-door hardtop with what some describe as worn bar of soap styling. Can you imagine that Lee Iacocca and the Ford designers looked at this and said, we're going to make this little duckling into a swan because this is what became the Mustang. They said this one was all restored with NDS parts. Now, that's a new one on me. NOS would be new old stock parts, perhaps new dealer stock parts. They were new anyway.
$28,000 for a 1963 Ford Falcon two-door Sprint. Don't forget, go to Barrett-Jackson.com. That's where you can see the full list of cars crossing the block, as well as cars that have already crossed. You can find out what they sold for. You can even do research on previous auctions. And up on the block now, this is the car that April Rose said Steve Magnante would be excited about. And I can just tell by the look on his face. It's a 1964 Chevy Nova Gasser.
I got to say, I'm a big fan of the early match racers, factory experimentals, altered wheelbase door slammers, and gassers like this. In fact, I built a 63 Nova called the Wilshire Shaker, orange and white car. You might have seen it in Hot Rod magazine, about 15 years ago. This is kind of built in the same spirit. Now, this one is a two-door post, so it's not a Nova, it's a Chevy 2. And again, this is a nicely done car. Straight axle up front, tunnel ram big block, Pie-Car slicks, nice vibe on this, retro, but it's a new car, new construction.
Now, wouldn't you prefer the two-door sedan body style to build into a race car because it was more rigid than a hardtop?
It's true, yeah. My Nova was a hard top, and I did alter the wheelbase on it. It was a little flexible. I put some frame connectors in it, but you know, if you're a model car builder, know that Mobius just released a 1/25th scale, well, a version pretty much of a car just like this, a 65 Chevy Gasser. There's also a 64 hardtop, so Mobius, if you can't swing the real thing, 1/25th scale kits just came out. They're good.
And if you don't want to build it, I could go find, is it a Matchbox? No, it's a Hot Wheels car, correct, that they made of your car.
That's right, yeah, the Drag Strip Demons series. There indeed is a Wilshire Shaker in 1/64 scale. I've got 3 of them.
Well, I've got 1.
Now, this car is street legal, even with the slick tires. We called these cheater slicks because it had 2 little tread grooves there, which made them just barely legal.
I like the roll bar installed. In fact, it's a full cage, so you can go to the drag strip. I think you can run a 9.9 or something like that with this roll cage in place. Pretty nice. This car with the 502 is probably an easy 10-second car with some traction. Like how the radio hole has been repurposed for some circular gauges with an engine turn block-off plate. Nice. Turbo 400 automatic transmission.
I like the retro feel on the side where it says 427 cubic inches, but in reality, it's a 502 under the hood.
And those are magnesium wheels, the rears in the Hallebrand kidney bean style, and the fronts in the ET style, so they're much lighter than a forged aluminum wheel of today.
$30,000 the price for that 64 Chevy 2 Custom Gasser. Let's check in with April Rose.
This truck is so cool. 1980 International Scout 2. This is the sweetest unrestored Survivor, super low miles. It's got the original International copper patina, white side stripes, some age creeping in, but it still looks fantastic. It's even got the original russet plaid seats. Yes, I said plaid. So cool. The IH345 engine, 3-speed automatic. Now, this is the last year for the Scoutin' Man. They got out of the game too early. This is a great find. Love to see Survivors in this condition. This is definitely a solid truck, Rick.
Yeah, it's great to see the Scouts. I think we've got a total of 7 of them here for this auction. And as the Broncos and the Blazers have been rising in value, I think the Scouts are going to see the same result. 1965 Mustang convertible up in the block.
Wow, poppy red with the red interior, white convertible top boot, not sure of the color of the top. Automatic transmission, rally pack gauges. Ford factory gauges on either side of the steering column to supplant what was in the dash.
A moment ago, we saw that white 63 Falcon Sprint. Well, that's basically the skeleton underneath this car. If you look at the dashboard, the Falcon and Mustang dashes are the same with one extension. This hood here is a welded-on structure, but this stamping here, that's Falcon stuff. That's how Ford repurposed a lot of the floor pan and everything else to make the Falcon into a Swan, or, well, maybe a Mustang.
65s, sporting the later rally wheels and twin stripe red line tires. $44,000. We've been climbing fast here.
Really solid money, especially when you remember they built almost 700,000 of them the first year. Now, granted, it was the early release of 64 together with 65s, but that's an awful lot of cars and still very popular and bringing good value.
This car was originally built as an A-Code 289 with a 4-barrel and dual exhaust, so it's no lightweight. Pretty rare bird.
There it goes. $45,500 for a 1965 Mustang, poppy red, red interior, A-Code, everything you want. Away it goes. Welcome back to Palm Beach. There you see the cars in the pre-staging lanes before they work their way into the staging lanes. It's the last chance for people to wander around, take a look at the cars before they move into the building and up onto the block. It's a great chance to see, if you're interested in bidding on a car, what it looks like up close. Up on the block now, we got another 1955 Chevy. I love this one, though. This is a 150, the base, but very customized.
Well, that's right. The custom touches include a 396 big block, a 4 on the floor, and there it is, the big block Chevy, which bolts right in. Of course, not available for another decade, 1965 being the first year.
Burnt orange metallic. The 150 series was available in a 2-door sedan and a 4-door sedan. And also we got the tradesman style wagon. All tan leather interior here, and just a lot of nice, subtle upgrading.
One detail about the 150 is how the B-pillar lands behind the rear axle center line. On the Bel Air, it comes down nearly ahead of it. These actually have a longer roof and a longer rear window than a Bel Air, which makes them look a little weird, but the 150 is a longer rear window and the B-pillar lands further back. So subtle but absolutely obvious if you compare the two side by side.
Chevy wanted everybody to know that you had ordered the 265 cubic inch V8. They put emblems right there. Here's some modern LED tail lamps on this one.
Well, I'll tell you what, this one's getting a lot of love. We're at 62,000, still moving. That means it is the #1 retail sale of the day, behind our 2 charity cars.
Well, a Tri-Year Chevy is a blue chip collectible in and of itself. Fairly rare body style to see restored, and the paint is perfect.
Yeah, I love the Cragar SS Mags, Coker wheel and Coker tire. Of course, they now sell Cragars with mounted tires for one-stop retro shopping. This does have the V8 emblems here below the taillights, which would indicate it was born at 265, but the VIN tells us otherwise. We don't see the V in front of the number, so it was born as 6-cylinder. Nothing wrong with that. Again, it's had an engine swap to a big block anyway. It's all good.
Numbers still climbing. We're at $72,000.
Call the medic for Trey, our auctioneer. He's about to have a come apart.
Now they moved it up by $1,000. Trey went, okay, I guess I'll do that. $73,000 for that custom 150 from Chevrolet from 1955. Wow. All right, if you'd like to try and sharpen your own bidding skills, maybe snag a great prize in the process, you'll want to play Fantasy Bid, brought to you by Dodge, because right now Tyler is going to preview one of the cars that you're going to be predicting the price on.
Yes, lot 684.1 right here is one of the best of the George Shinn collection, which is already of a very high quality. It's a 1958 Chevrolet Corvette. You can see it was beautifully restored, the gray paint, red interior. This car is just as much sculpture as it is an automobile, and I just absolutely love every inch of it. But when you look at the front fender, you see that fuel injection script. This is a fuel-y car, so you have the V8 engine with the Rochester fuel injection, which is the highest option you could get in these, and it is totally vacuum controlled. It is not electronic. Got a high-pressure fuel pump on it that controls all this with vacuum. So this continued into the 1960s until the big block Corvettes came out, and then that was the high-performance option. So this is a perfectly restored, top-of-the-line Corvette here. Place your bets. I'd place them high if I were you.
Oh, better than it looked from the showroom. Thanks, Tyler. That 58 Vet will cross the block this Saturday. So go to BarrettJacksonFantasyBid.com or scan this QR code you see right there to register to play. Who knows? You could walk away with a 2022 Dodge Challenger. Just play the game. Back inside, a 1969 Camaro. This one's a Z28 Custom.
Well, it's all about the words here. Z28 would imply it was born a Z28, but no bigger claims than that. Has a 427 in it, which is larger than the 302, but the VIN says 124, so we can be sure it was born a V8, but which one, who knows? But now, who cares? The big block is cool. The car doesn't know the difference.
Rare Daytona yellow color, but a lot of freelancing going on here with the styling and the heart transplant.
$45,000 for that 69 Camaro Z28 Custom. Let's check in with April Rose.
We got something a little newer out here, a 2021 Bronco First Edition with the Sasquatch package. Now, the popularity of these have just exploded. People are paying a premium for them because the demand is way outpacing the supply. 2.7-liter EcoBoost V6, 10-speed automatic. You got the removable top. I mean, this is that classic look. But, Rick, it's got every single modern comfort you could ever dream of.
Yeah, I gotta love it. I love the name as well. And I'll tell you what, the classic Broncos are bringing big money, as are the new Broncos. So it'll be interesting to see what that does up on the block. Meanwhile, we got a 1969 Corvette, 350 cubic inches, 300 horsepower.
Well, 69 was the first year that the Corvette got the 350, moving up from the 327 in 68. But again, second year for the Mako Shark body style. This one's an automatic and pretty typical of, a basic dealer inventory piece. Not a big block, not a 4-speed, but these were very popular in the time.
Now in Corvette, Daytona yellow was a stock color. It was rare on Camaro, more seen here. Check out the hardtop. It's a removable hardtop, but it is finished in vinyl, much like the glue-on vinyl tops that adorned a lot of GM coupes, though not the Corvettes. So kind of an interesting treatment there.
This is a numbers matching car, which is money in the bank.
A lot of work has been done here. The radio's been upgraded to Bluetooth with additional speakers. The original window sticker, owner's manual, and owner form and pre-delivery sheet is included, so that's a good little bit of provenance for this car's history.
Now, have you noticed the prices are suddenly started to move upward? We're starting to get into prime time here at Barrett-Jackson. The quality of the cars are going up. The prices are going up. $40,000 for that 1969 Corvette 350 engine. All right, something cool rolling up behind it. Very interesting. It's a 1965 Volkswagen custom bus.
Well, it's two-tone black and root beer metallic. Has kind of a tufted interior look in ivory, as in you wouldn't want to let the kids in there because they would make a mess of it. 1.6-liter four-cylinder, four-speed manual. I mean, beautiful inside. I mean, really, really nicely finished here, unlike the way it was born.
Yeah, custom is the word. Look at the rubber band tires on this thing. I've never seen a tire with less sidewall on it. This would not live long in North Brookfield, Massachusetts, where I happen to live. But again, as a showpiece, it's cool.
These had very little power and very little pace when new. That little Volkswagen flat four-cylinder had its work to do to move this down the road. You didn't want to be behind this on one of those winding New England two-lane roads.
Boy, a lot of custom on this, and what's interesting, this has a VIN number that begins with the letter B, and in my mind, I'm pretty sure that means this is a Brazilian bus. I've seen some of these that have come up, so it's a mid-60s. I believe it's a Brazilian bus, brought up and then customized.
Yeah, to your point, when you see the BH, that's usually a Brazilian bus, but...
It just says B, not BH, so it's possible it's not Brazilian. I thought the B was the thing that did it. Maybe somebody can correct us in a moment. Just hit me up on Twitter at Rick DeBrule. Strong money. We're at $65,000. That makes it the #2 retail sale of the day so far.
Well, the interior's been done limousine style with bench seating on the side and then a rear seat and about a 24-inch video monitor on the back of the driver's seat.
Well, guess what? That just tied that 1955 Chevy 150, that custom car that sold just a little while ago. They were both sold at $73,000. Strong money. A 1965 Volkswagen Vanagon custom bus, beautifully done with that limousine interior. Away it goes. 1972 Chevy C10 custom pickup truck rolling up behind it.
Oh, this is interesting. On the fenders, it says 8454. You couldn't get a 454 in 72. You could in 73, but neither one of those is here. This is an LS engine. I see an iron block, so it's a 5.3-liter truck-based engine. Nothing wrong with that. And again, Vortec Max means truck-based with the ram-tuned intake manifold. 4L60, 4-speed automatic, but again, it's the magical combination. Short bed, fleet side, half-tonner, money in the bank, 47 and climbing.
And to me, the best thing about it is the two-tone paint. Come on, Chevrolet, bring this back for us pickup truck lovers. I want a new Chevy pickup, and I want it in a two-tone. Maybe just like this.
A lot of these body parts are available brand new. In fact, there are even kits sold to shorten your long bed into a short bed, so you name it, it can be done. You can even buy brand new beds and cabs from Real Deal Steel and companies like that. But again, just beautiful stuff. Mouth-watering. The bed floor is pristine. This has never seen a day of work. It's probably reproduction stuff, but that's okay by me.
And here's something that is new again. See how the Chevrolet letters are recessed, stamped into the tailgate panel. Well, everybody, Ford, Ram, and Chevrolet have taken to doing that again. Oh, I love this. Okay, here's your LED tail light. Flip it down. There's the gas filler cap. Thank you. That is cool.
Little touch of 56 Chevy right there, right, Mike?
Yeah, that's awesome. Hiding in plain sight, as they say.
And once again, as I mentioned, prices are just climbing slowly but surely here at Barrett-Jackson. Started the day a little slow, and now we are rolling along. $60,000, the highest bid for a 1972 Chevy C10. A little while ago, April Rose previewed a 2021 Ford Bronco First Edition. They call it Sasquatch, the Sasquatch package. It's up on the block right now.
Wow. Well, this is the one everybody wants. And, of course, there will only be one first edition. And when those are built for the people that order them, there will be no more. This one has a Warren winch added, big pulley bar on the front. Otherwise, aside from the, look at the fender flares here. Here's Steve Davis.
You know, something that's really cool about these new Broncos is that they're packed with functional features. The roof panels come off on these. You can unbolt them and have a true open top vehicle. A lot of folks don't even notice that. And these are available the soft top or the hard top seen here. This is the 4-door, and yeah, there's even a 2-door. So Ford has taken the Bronco to really just new heights of functionality and fun.
So the Sasquatch package includes these 17-inch beadlock wheels, the 35-inch tires, the factory lift, and the removable molded in color hardtop.
And those wheels are actually beadlock capable. Now, they come with a standard type tire, but these will take a beadlock pinch. That's not bogus. That's very real and very functional. It's up to you to put the beadlock tires on it, but that's awesome. That's factory stock equipment with this option. Now, while Ford pickup trucks have an all-aluminum cam and bed, this is still a steel unit construction. However, the doors, fenders, hood, and tailgate are lightweight, military-grade aluminum. But again, the quarter panels are made of steel.
This truck had a long gestation from when Ford first announced the return of the Bronco. It was years before it finally came to market. They took their time, and boy, did they get it right. The demand for these is off the charts.
And it timed perfectly because we were just seeing the demand for the old Broncos come up, and it really hit that properly. By the way, this one, 103 miles on the odometer. So essentially, yes, it's a 2021, but it's a brand new Ford Bronco. We're at $80,000.
You gotta love the backup camera right here. Basically, it's on a protrusion, so it sticks out and is functional. Now, there's a magnesium inner structure inside of the tailgate to accept the weight of this spare. That's not light, but again, just exotic materials hiding in plain sight. Let's take a peek right here. Let's open this up. And on the inside right here, there it is, the back, and there's a speaker and just all kinds of function happening. Well engineered, well designed. I mean, head and shoulders above the original Bronco, and you'd expect it to be.
Well, almost $80,000, $79,500 for a 2021 Ford Bronco Sasquatch Edition. That is now the #1 retail sale of the day. That's right. That behind those two charity cars, the Cadillac Blackwing, the Shelby GT500, getting pretty expensive to break into our top 10 here at Barrett-Jackson. It is the perfect blend of sun and fun here at Barrett-Jackson Palm Beach. Up on the block right now, the 2018 Jeep Wrangler. It's an unlimited custom SUV.
Got the body armor front bumper, Warren winch, body armor styling, the Angry Birds grill. It's got a lift. I mean, these Jeeps, this one was built for the SEMA show, but these are the most modified new vehicles in America today. Here's the proof.
It's nice. This one has the folding top, basically a convertible Jeep. Aluminum bodies on these puppies, except for the quarter panels, which are steel. But you got to love that. Removable top there and open it up. The windshield folds down flat if you want to go there off-road, slow. Nice.
Nice and $50,000, and that's now exactly what it takes to break into the top 10 here at Barrett-Jackson Palm Beach. Let's check in with Christian Murphy, who I understand is standing by with a special guest.
Absolutely, Rick. I'm not sure whether you noticed today that there was a few Mustang 5.0s crossing the block, and I just love these cars, but I did wonder whether there was any reason why that might be the case, and I think I might have found it. The man who put the car on the map.
I feel like the oldest teenager in town right now.
Rob Van Winkle or Vanilla Ice. Wow, what is it like to be back in this car?
All the memories are coming back. I remember all the girls I dated, well, most of them. And I remember ripping out my back seat and putting in subwoofers. I think I had a fanny pack and maybe some Z Cavricis on. And I definitely had to rewind my cassette deck.
But we've moved on. I mean, you're a really astute collector now, don't you? You've got a lot of different cars. Other than you still have the original 5.0, right?
I do have the original 5.0. It is my favorite car, and I've got quite a good collection. But you know, it's just the nostalgia of the '90s, the last of the great decades before computers ruined the world. And this is it. This is it. They ruled the street. The Fox body Mustangs are going up in price every day, so you got to get one now. You know, I'm trying to get one I can drive because mine I can't drive.
Now, I noticed you in the big tent here. John Staluppi's Cars of Dreams goes under the hammer this week.
Yep.
Anything in there that piques your interest or something else?
Oh, my God. Everything Staluppi has piques my interest. I have to stop and stare. I even, at the end of the day, my legs hurt from looking at his car so much because I get down at every angle. They're so perfect. And he knows how to pick them. He's a great guy and good neighbor here and a friend of mine, but his car collection is second to none. He needs to get a Fox body, though.
Well, let's go talk to him. Rob Van Winkle, it's great to be sitting in a piece of history with an icon. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Enjoy the week.
My pleasure.
Take it back to you, Rick.
All right, thanks a lot. Yeah, fun to sit in a Mustang and talk with Vanilla Ice. That's really cool, especially he is such a car guy. $22,000 the current bid on a 63 Ford Fairlane. This one's interesting, though. It's a Thunderbolt recreation.
Well, indeed it is. This one plays into the idea of the 427 high-riser powered 64s. Now again, 63, Tasca Ford in Rhode Island built a thing called the Zimmy 1, which was a prototype 427 Fairlane, and Ford said, let's build those things. So this is sort of a tribute to that.
$21,000 for that 1963 Ford Fairlane Tribute, the Thunderbolt recreation. All right, we've been talking this week about some of the cars that we have in our garage, and I got to admit, Tyler Hoover's got a pretty interesting garage, so let's see what he's got to show us.
A lot of people tell me I buy cars like a lottery winner would have about 15 years ago, or like a guy showing off on Cribs, an old TV show years ago. But honestly, I just have champagne taste on a beer budget. And this 2001 Bentley Azure is a prime example of this. New 20 years ago, it would have been over $300,000, and I bought it for only $25,000. It was a slight project, 67,000 miles. We fixed a lot of the leaks on it, and now I've just been enjoying it. Just the acres and acres of car.
Yeah, I'm hearing the
Tons of wood and leather that Greta Thunberg would be kind of upset about, but it is absolutely beautiful. And under the hood is certainly a gas guzzler. Look at this beautiful grille. It's a 6.75 liter V8 with a giant Garrett turbo putting out 400 horsepower. And the most fun part is the original owner of this car was Jean-Claude Van Damme. Yeah, the kicking guy, and his son actually came across one of my videos, got me in touch with him, and he sent me an autographed photo that he said he drove this car to that photo shoot on that day. How cool is that?
Now, Tyler, that is absolutely cool on every level. Great deal on a great car with a great connection. Gotta love every moment of that one. Who knows who the owner of this Eldorado was? Maybe we'll find out if somebody interesting when it crosses the block. Meanwhile, we get a 63 Chevy Nova SS convertible.
Well, this one has a V8 conversion. Got to remember, there's no V8s in Novas till 64, but that's okay. Super Sport means bucket seats, convertible. What a beautiful car.
Remember, in 63 at your Chevy dealer, you could get a convertible in the rear-engine Corvair, in the Chevy Nova, and in the full-size Chevrolet.
This one has been given a disc brake conversion up front. The transmission is an automatic, 3-speed automatic, not the power glide this would have had new.
Well, like I said, prices are going up here at Barrett-Jackson on Thursday, and we're going to ease our way into big money tomorrow and the next day. And the Summit Racing Soul sticker goes on with that price of $50,000 written on it. And away it will go onto the grounds. And it'll be here for the next couple of days, so while you're walking around, you can still take a look and check out that car. All right, up on the block now. I love this. It's a 1980 International Scout. This one's a 4x4.
This was kind of the last gasp for International and the Scout. Previously round headlights. They tried to upgrade with the 4x6 headlights. They made a new grille casting. That was about the only change other than the interior to try to modernize the Scout, which was kind of on its last legs.
Well, speaking of last, the Scout was the first SUV by most accounts, beating the Bronco and the Blazer to market by several years, I think 1961, 62. Now, this is the redesign. I want to give a shout out to Tom Taylor, my old co-host on Junkyard Gold. He was working for International in 1980 and may have had a hand in these graphics. Of course, Tom Taylor, one of the writers at Hot Rod for years, and an illustrator. But yeah, he might have done the graphics on this thing back in the day. Now, this has a 345 cubic inch International Harvester V8, which is a descendant and a member of a massive heavy-duty gasoline truck family. They put these engines in buses. It's a big engine. These came as big as 392 cubic inches. But yeah, 345 cubes under the hood.
Only 16,000 original miles on this thing. It's amazing survivor.
This car comes from North Dakota, according to the very faded AAA sticker on the rear bumper.
You know, the beauty of this one is that while it may be faded, it's not rusty. I don't feel any crustiness, no holes, nothing. The quarters are nice, so I'd leave this alone.
Well, $25,000 for that 1980 International Scout 2. All right, something very different is coming up. I love this. It's a 1961 MGA Roadster. It's got that 4-cylinder motor, needless to say, a manual transmission. We'll see it very soon. Plenty of cars out in the staging lanes, left across the block, all kinds of great stuff. Pickup trucks. Oh, I love that little VW Beetle convertible right there, the hot rod in front. Oh, yeah, little pontoon fendered Chevy. Everything you want is here at Barrett-Jackson. Over the course of the next 3 days, we'll see a wide variety of equipment crossing the block, like this 1987 GMC 1500 pickup.
Well, the final year for the square body, of course, the Aero would take over in '88. This one has the 305 throttle body injection. And something that we can prove is that racing improves the breed. Well, this chin spoiler right here is not a hot rod part. That was seen on all Chevy trucks from 1983 on up. It actually helps to improve fuel economy by getting the air around rather than under. Yep, racing improves the breed right there.
20-inch American Racing salt flats wheels, reminiscent of the Hallebrand Kidney Bean IndyCar style wheel. Give this a very purposeful look, as does the two-tone, the lower body side and the roof in a very dark midnight blue, the rest of the truck in Summit white.
This does have an aftermarket rear step bumper, but something very important is on the driver's side, the single exhaust pipe coming out. That's a factory correct treatment. A lot of folks have straight out the back chrome tips and stuff. Well, Chevy never had that. It was always out the side pipe right there. And it's nice to see little details like that that add up and preserve originality.
Nice blue cloth interior to go with the two-tone paint treatment on the outside. Step bumper on the back to make loading easier and place for that trailer ball.
There's the AM/FM cassette player. I still have some cassettes. I play them once in a while.
$21,000 the hammer price for that GMC pickup. 1957 is the year the South Florida Fairgrounds was born, and that is our spotlight year here at Barrett-Jackson Palm Beach. Here's Rick.
1957 brought us some pretty amazing cars, the Chevy Bel Air, the Ford Thunderbird. But in my mind, the ultimate, the most spectacular 1957, no question, it's the DeSoto Adventurer convertible. This particular one, part of the John Staluppi collection, selling here at Palm Beach. The Adventurer name was first introduced in 1956, but in '57, it got a major restyling with Chrysler's forward look design. Long and beautiful, those tail fins, no doubt, had Cadillac designers dreaming of how they could create something just as spectacular. And the Adventurer has plenty of power to match its looks. 345 horses out of 345 cubic inches, a 1-to-1 ratio. Now, there were only 300 of these made that year. Of course, by 1957, the end was near for DeSoto. By 1961, the company's 33-year run was over. But for me, it will always be the company that brought us the ultimate 57, the DeSoto Adventurer.
Boy, I agree, Rick. DeSoto ruled the styling roost in 1957, and that one is restored to way better than brand new. Here's lot 139. It's the big boat, the parade float. It's a 78 Cadillac Eldorado Biarritz.
You know, earlier today we saw a 67 Eldorado cross the block, which was really this vehicle's grandfather. Very similar in many ways, but again, here it is, the extreme of bloat. Again, this is a beautiful example. It's how they looked.
Tell you what, for $15,000, that's first off, it's great money per pound, but more importantly, a really cool car you can buy. All right, the way it goes, we're going to check in with Kristen Murphy.
Thank you very much, Rick. I'm here with the head honchos, Craig Jackson, Chairman and CEO, Steve Davis, the President. It's been 3 years, Craig, 3 years. It's a Thursday, but it doesn't feel like any of that. It's just a great day.
I took a picture from the auction block right after the anthem, and the place was full. And the car prices have been strong all day. So, yeah, people had that pent-up demand that we were talking about being away for so long, and they came back. They wanted to come out. The enthusiasm has been off the charts.
Steve, I think this sets us up well for a Friday and then a Saturday. Tomorrow, it's going to be off the charts.
Absolutely. What an amazing 2 years it was to wait, but it was well worth it when you get back, see the crowd, see the prices. The docket tomorrow is going to rock the house. Can't wait. It's going to be incredible. And I can't tell you how many great cars that are going to surprise everybody. We'll be talking about them tomorrow.
And the two great charity cars tomorrow.
Yeah, it could be another wonderful day. Congrats on today. We're going to throw it back up to the block.
All right, thanks a lot, gentlemen. We appreciate it. I love what's on the block right now. This is a 1991 Toyota. It's an MR2 Turbo.
This is a future blue chip collectible, being a turbo with fairly low miles. Ferrari 308 styling cues, turbo 4-cylinder. That's a steal.
Yeah, less than 65,000 miles, and it just sold for $17,000. Presents almost like new. Beautiful, beautiful car. I agree. Should be interesting. Don't forget, go to Barrett-Jackson.com. That's where you can see the full list of cars that will be crossing the block over the course of our 3 days here in Palm Beach. You can also do research on cars that have long since crossed the block. Barrett-Jackson.com. Up on the block now, we've got a 1961 MGA.
Well, beautiful little car. Inline 4, no 6 cylinders, no V12s, not fast, but such a cute little car and beautiful styling. One thing I love about these is these chromed vents up here. They're not ram airs. They're actually just little ducts that let air come out from the old 110-mile-an-hour top speed. But what a beautiful example. Very original-looking car.
Well, after the T-Series, where the body, it was not an envelope body, it had separate fenders. Then the MGA came along, designed after a streamliner built for record runs, and it just captured America's fancy. These sold in very good numbers, established MG in the United States, and led to the MGB, which was the biggest selling sports car of all time, right up until the Mazda Miata. So it all kind of started right here.
Have you ever seen such an amazing transition when you look from the T-Series, the TF, to go from that car with the upright wheels and the fenders, the external, the running boards, to this MGA?
No, this was huge, Rick. The only downside to this car for the American market was that it had side curtains you had to attach. It did not have roll up and down windows, something that would be remedied with the MGB about 1962.
One detail is not correct is a twin outlet exhaust right there, but we'll give it a pass.
That's an Abarth exhaust, Steve. That's a day 2 modification, let's call it.
I think no harm, no foul on that one. $30,000 for that 1961 MGA Roadster. Well, we're reaching the end of our coverage here at Barrett-Jackson. We're looking forward to every minute and every car that crosses the block. Oh, just a little while left in our coverage here on FYI, the Barrett-Jackson Collector Car Auction, but up there right now, a very nice 1965 Mustang.
Well, you know, Rick, as you mentioned earlier, about 680,000 Mustangs were built in the first model year, as it were. And most were this body right here, because it could seat 5 people with 3 o'clock seating in the back. But this is born a 289 2-barrel with a 3-speed manual.
Yeah, we always get excited about the fastbacks, the convertibles, but this was the bread and butter car for many years for the Ford Mustang, 1965, 1966. All right, check out our top sellers of the day so far on our first day of the Barrett-Jackson Collector Car Auction. This Ford Bronco is a 2021 Sasquatch edition. It was the top retail sale of the day, sold for $79,500. The number 2 sale of the day, it was a Ford Shelby GT500. This one, with the proceeds to benefit pancreatic cancer research, sold for $185,000. But the top sale of the day, a 2023 Cadillac CT5V Blackwing. All the money going to help STEM education, the first of the collector series. This sold for $250,000. But that's just day one. We still have Friday and Saturday to go, and I have a feeling the numbers we see today, they're going to seem like just entry-level money by the time we get to Saturday. Up on the block now, a 1953 Chevy Deluxe Custom.
Take a good look at this. The front bumper is new or re-chromed, but the entire rest of the exterior, other than that hood ornament, is in survivor status. Totally unrestored, but a lot of modifications underneath.
One thing about this car, it has a 383 small block added, but keep in mind, if you look at this car right here, this is about as good as it got in 1953. No wonder a lot of kids says, yeah, ho-hum. 55 changed everything with the Bel Air and the V8, but this is what Chevy was. Now, of course, that was then the small block change, and this one's a move in the right direction.
Yeah, just 2 years later, the styling was radically different for Chevrolet, but well, that's towards the end of that pontoon-style body. Beautiful after World War II, but didn't last long. All right, let's check in with April Rose.
Hey, Rick, I'm outside in one of the many tents here surrounded by some beautiful rides. You're going to have to let me know where they keep the keys, because I think I need to test drive some of these babies, like this car going across tomorrow. This is a 1972 Chevelle SS convertible. Now, this is a matching numbers LS5 car, turbo 400 trans, Z15 suspension package, and that cool cowl induction hood. It's finished in orange flame with black SS stripes. Only has 51,000 actual miles on it. Tons of certification on the dash. And that's the build sheet right there. This is one sweet ride, Rick.
I have a feeling we're all in big trouble if April finds out where key control is located, and they have all the keys for all of these cars. Very nice. 1978 Ford F350. This is very interesting. It's a Super Camper Special.
Well, there was a time when back-in camper bed would be put on here. That was a huge thing. Americans like to go traveling like that. Now motorhomes have taken over, but this was a truck built for that type of use. Long bed, you'd back it up, slide the camper in, torque it down, and go off and camp with your family. Now, this one has the 70 series Dana rear axle, heavy-duty frame, big brakes, 400 cubic inch engine, 4-speed manual. Weird. Now, here's the thing. This one looks like it's all rusty. Well, keep in mind, surface rust is not structural rust. This is very solid, and it has what I call a Texas suntan. It's not rust. That's patina.
$12,000 for all that patina. Let's check in with Tyler Hoover.
Well, Super Saturday at Barrett-Jackson is known for its incredible resto mods, and this is certainly a great example of it selling Saturday. Lot 743, a 1957 Chevy Bel Air convertible, but it's riding on a custom Art Morrison Sport GT chassis, so it drives way better than the original. You see the aircraft leather interior, the factory-looking gauges, but then they've updated them to give them the modern, of course, the cluster with the vintage air automatic transmission. But the most impressive part to me, other than the body being flawless and completely debadged, is what's under the hood. It looks like sculpture. It looks like it's part of the car, like this is artwork, but that is an LS3. You see the Bel Air badge they decided to put under the hood, but this is just a beautiful car. Every single inch. These things bring huge money on Saturday, and I imagine this one will be right up there.
It is absolutely amazing what guys can do and these gals can do to just do custom work on these cars. And some of the ones we're going to see cross the block this week are absolutely amazing. Up on the block, a 2001 Chevy Tahoe.
Well, nothing appears to have been customized or modified here. Beige leather interior, white truck, 63,000 miles.
This one has the 5.3-liter LS engine, the Gen 3 Chevy, a fine engine with a cast iron block. It has the same cylinder heads on a Camaro SS, and again, 5.3-liter, not a 350. Now, the Tahoe, of course, was like a Suburban, but on a shorter wheelbase.
I guess you buy this one to tow home the collector car you buy tomorrow.
Exactly, especially, well, we're at $12,500. That's what it was sold for. I think you got yourself a package deal. Not bad at all. All right, looks like this is probably the last car we're going to see on our coverage of Barrett-Jackson on Thursday. This 2011 Jaguar XFR sedan.
Well, the R indicates the muscle that's under the hood. This is a 5-liter supercharged V8, 510 horsepower, 461 foot-pounds of torque, nice gleaming metallic gray over burgundy leather.
I like the special hood with the supercharged inserts. Cool. Jaguar muscle car, four-door style.
Yeah, I mean, Mercedes has their AMG, BMW has their M, Jaguar has their R, and Lexus has an F for their high-performance division.
No manual transmissions on these. These are all going to be paddle-shifted automatics, but that's okay.
Well, 92,000 miles, that may hold the number back a bit.
Well, that's a wrap for day one from Barrett-Jackson here in Palm Beach, but oh, just a little taste of what's left to come. We have 14 more hours of live auction coming during the next 2 days, including 7 hours in FYI tomorrow. It's a car lover's paradise. So for Mike Joy, Steve Magnante, Tyler Hoover, April Rose, and Christian Murphy, I'm Rick DeBrule. Thanks for riding along with us today. We look forward to seeing you back here tomorrow from the Sunshine State.